Chapter 335. Oh? This slave named Xiong Shou doesn't have inner strength, but he's still so powerful? Ting Qingshan looked curious. Seeing that Ting Qingshan finally took the initiative to talk about this topic, young Master Li was secretly delighted. Sir, young Master Li said with a smile, you don't know about this. This slave called Xiong Shou grew up in a herd of beasts. He doesn't even know how to speak and only knows how to roar like a wild beast. However, he was different from other barbarians, because he was extremely strong. His strength isn't something that the Bluestone clan can compare to. Extraordinary strength? Ting Qingshan raised his eyebrows. He can even lift a boulder weighing over 10,000 jin with one hand. A hint of amazement appeared in young Master Li's eyes. He can easily tear apart a ferocious beast. Moreover, he is as ferocious as a beast. You haven't seen the terrifying scene of his gambling cage fight. His favorite thing to do is to tear his opponent to shreds and then bite them with his teeth. He's like a ferocious beast. In his daily life, he eats raw meat and drinks blood, just like a wild beast. Young Master Li sighed. Ting Qingshan pondered as he listened. According to young Master Li, this slave called Xiong Shou doesn't even know how to speak, and he even eats raw meat and drinks blood. He was just a barbarian. It could be concluded that he was not an expert of the internal martial arts who had received systematic instruction. He's a barbarian who hasn't been taught by humans. Ting Qingshan couldn't help but sigh at these savages who grew up among wild beasts. Can't speak the human language, even if it's very strong. At most, he would become a plaything for the human race. He would still be a slave. However, this barbarian has yet to cultivate inner strength. How is it possible for him to lift a 10,000-kilogram boulder with one hand? Ting Qingshan was puzzled. Apart from himself, Ting Qingshan had never seen anyone with physical strength that exceeded 10,000 jin. Beside him, Li Jun asked curiously, is this Xiong beast slave in the slave market? Ting Qingshan also looked at young Master Li. Young Master Li shook his head with a smile. Not anymore. I won't hide it from you. That vicious beast slave had long since been bought by my Fong family. Now it's in my mansion. Ting Qingshan was intrigued. Fong Li, previously when we were in the Rising Sun restaurant, we heard the roar of a beast coming from your Fong residence. Is that beast's roar the beast slave's roar? Ting Qingshan inquired. Upon hearing this, young Master Li laughed and said, yes, it's him. This slave beast didn't understand the human language. He only knew how to roar when he was hungry. Now the entire Danyang city could hear the roars of this beast every morning, noon, and evening. Sometimes this slave beast wanted to go out and run around. His temper is wild, and sometimes the Fong family can only go along with him. Ting Qingshan sighed inwardly. They were simply raising humans like animals. Since this ferocious beast slave can easily kill a peak post-liminary realm expert, such a powerful ferocious beast slave must be extremely powerful. Why would the slave market be willing to sell them? Li Jun, who was at the side, had a puzzled expression on her face. Young Master Li smiled and said, firstly, this slave beast is too powerful. As long as it was a gambling cage fight, the beast slave would definitely win. Since it was a sure win, the gamblers who came here naturally placed their bets on this slave beast. Moreover, even if they wanted the slave beast to fake it, the slave beast wouldn't understand. It was impossible to fake it. Therefore, as long as it was a gambling cage fight, betting on the slave beast to win would be a sure win. Tell me, would the slave market still dare to use the slave beast as a slave? Upon hearing this, Li Jun couldn't help but laugh. Secondly, young Master Li continued, as the slave beast grew up, its physical strength became stronger and stronger. Moreover, it was too wild and couldn't be tamed. Many people in the slave market had been killed by this slave beast. Therefore, the slave market finally held an auction. The highest bidder would get it, and the slave beast was sold. The word sell also meant auction. In the land of the 9 prefectures, auction was called buying. Therefore, your Fong family obtained it. Ting Qingshan smiled. Young Master Li said helplessly, "What's the use of obtaining it? This slave beast is very stupid and can't be tamed. If it was placed on the battlefield, it wouldn't be able to distinguish between friend and foe. It was only occasionally that he could use it. Normally, it can only be raised. Unfortunately, in Duanmu continent, only the Tianfeng clan in the northern Frosty region has people who are proficient in the language of beasts." Ting Qingshan looked at Li Jun. Li Jun winked deliberately and raised her eyebrows proudly. Although Li Jun understood the language of beasts, Ting Qingshan couldn't let Li Jun work for the Fong family. "Everyone, the second round of today's gambling cage fight will be a fight between humans." An excited roar suddenly rang out. Immediately, the entire pavilion was filled with cheers. Everyone seemed very excited. The pavilion where the gambling cage fight was held was filled with noise and excitement. As Ting Qingshan drank tea with young Master Li, time slipped away silently. In the blink of an eye, more than 2 hours had passed. It was already evening. Clop, clop, clop. A warrior wearing iron armor walked up to the second floor of the pavilion and bowed respectfully to young Master Li. "Young Master, the 2 Scarlet Wind Warhouse and the 4-wheeled carriage made of cloudy mountain wood are ready." "Yes." Young Master Li smiled and nodded. "Mister, everything is ready." Young Master Li smiled. "Ha ha." Ting Qingshan smiled and stood up. Li Jun stood up as well. The coachman, Old Wang, and Little Ping also came over. "Thank you for your hospitality, young Master Li. I'll take my leave first," Ting Qingshan said with a faint smile. As he spoke, Ting Qingshan picked up the huge bag and left his seat with Li Jun, walking towards the stairs. "Mister, wait a moment," young Master Li shouted. Ting Qingshan stopped and turned to look at young Master Li. Young Master Li smiled and said, "Mister's strength is amazing. Our Fong family is in urgent need of talents from all over the world. Our Fong family doesn't want to miss out on a great talent like Mister. I, Fong Li, sincerely invite Mister to join our Fong family. Our Fong family is willing to serve you as a deacon. I hope Mister will agree." As he spoke, young Master Li cupped his hands and bowed deeply. Deacon? Although there weren't many guests on the second floor, there were still some people who looked over in surprise. Who is this person? He actually made the Fong family's eldest young master bow to him so respectfully? In the face of young Master Li's invitation, Ting Qingshan didn't hesitate at all. He casually waved his hand at the people behind him, carried the huge bag, and walked down the stairs with Li Jun. The coachman, Old Wang, and Little Ping also followed behind. "Young Master." The expressions of the people behind young Master Li didn't look too good. The Fong family's eldest young master had extended an invitation, but the other party seemed to be very arrogant. He didn't even say a word and only waved his hand before leaving. Especially in front of a large crowd. There was also a large group of people watching from the surroundings. Young Master Li bowed and didn't get up, but his expression was unsightly. "I, Fong Li, extended an invitation just like what was written in the book. I sincerely invited him. But he, young Master Li, felt that he was being humiliated. Moreover, young Master Li could clearly hear some people discussing in low voices on the second floor. As he listened to the buzzing discussions, young Master Li's expression became even more unsightly. "All of you, shut up!" Young Master Li suddenly shouted angrily. Then, he straightened his body and swept his gaze across the second floor. His blade-like fierce gaze instantly silenced the people on the second floor. "Everyone, get out of my way!" Young Master Li fiercely shouted. The officials and nobles on the second floor were so scared that they didn't dare to say another word. Like stray dogs, they quickly left along the stairs one by one. In just a few breaths, the entire second floor became empty. As these people went down the stairs, the people in the slave market knew that young Master Li was angry. Immediately, even the people on the first floor were chased out. All of a sudden, the entire building became quiet. Young Master Li's expression was cold. He held the railing with both hands and looked at the iron cage below. There were still some mutilated corpses in the iron cage, and the smell of blood permeated the air. He actually dared to ignore me. Young Master Li's expression was ashen, and his gaze was fierce. He, young Master Li, the Fang residence's eldest young master, the future patriarch of the Fang residence. Now, he had already begun to make various decisions for the Fang family. As for the Fang residence, it was the owner of Danyang City and the area around it. It could be said that the Fang residence's eldest young master was the local tyrant who controlled nearly 10 million people, who dared to disobey the emperor's order. Therefore, no matter in the Rising Sun restaurant or the slave market, no one dared to offend him, young Master Li. When he asked those officials and nobles to get out, no one dared to say a word. However, nowadays, in Duanmu continent, all the great clans were fighting for hegemony and were thirsty for talents. Therefore, he put on airs and invited Ting Qingshan. If Ting Qingshan had tried to persuade him with kind words and tactfully rejected him, this young master of the Fang residence wouldn't have been so angry. However, in public, Ting Qingshan's arrogant departure caused the young master of the Fang residence to lose a lot of face. An emperor bowed to invite someone, but the other person didn't even say a word and left arrogantly. How could the emperor not be angry? Young master. At this moment, only Fang Hong dared to speak. Fang Hong, don't you think that this person is very insensible? I gave him face, but he rejected it. The young master of the Fang residence's gaze was cold and fierce. Fang Hong sighed in his heart. Young master has done well in fighting for hegemony with the other clans. In a few years, young master will probably inherit the position of the patriarch. However, young master has been raised by the clan since young and has never tasted the feeling of being at the bottom. No matter how intelligent he is, he values his face too much. He doesn't understand, sometimes he has to endure. For the great cause, it is worth it to abandon face and dignity. In the entire Duanmu continent, there were only 200 to 300 million people. How many martial saints, innate experts, were there? Once the 36 main cities were divided, there were too few martial saints. The Fang residence only has one martial saint. He is also young master's great-grandfather. Young master has never interacted with other martial saints and doesn't understand the rules of interacting with martial saints. Fang Hong said to himself that Shangguan Yu from the Shangguan clan of the West Tang region followed the Blood Saber martial saint for 3 years and became sworn brothers with him. Only then did the Blood Saber martial saint join his Shangguan clan. Inviting a martial saint isn't that simple. The second floor was silent. Fang Hong bowed and said, "Young master, if he is really a martial saint, then we can make him join our Fang clan. Even if we have to lower ourselves, it will be worth it." Humph! Young Master Li snorted angrily. He had been pampered since he was young and was used to being self-centered. Even if he could barely disguise himself, how could he possibly lower his voice and lower his head? If he is really a martial saint, then so be it. If he isn't, then I will definitely sentence him to death to vent the anger in my heart. Young Master Li's gaze turned cold. Chapter 336. The bandit leader, Sun Yang, was very unlucky today. He actually robbed a super-powerful expert and lost many of his men. But that was not all. When he arrived at Danyang City, he found a doctor and bought a large amount of medicinal herbs. He actually ran into the expert that he robbed before. He answered the other party's question while trembling with fear. Who would have thought that he would be captured by the men of the Fang clan? The Fang clan was the local tyrant of Danyang City and the surrounding few hundred li. In a spacious courtyard in the Fang residence. I, Sun Yang, pay my respects to young master. Sun Yang immediately knelt down. Young master, after that man with the surname Ting left the slave market, he met this brat and spoke to him. This brat definitely knows that man with the surname Ting. A triangular-eyed man hastily said. Oh, you know that man with the surname Ting? Young Master Li sat on a chair and asked indifferently. Sun Yang's body trembled slightly. He was terrified. I know him. Sun Yang nodded hastily. Previously, I led some of my brothers to rob and robbed this expert. Rob? The corners of young Master Li's mouth curled into a sneer. He didn't kill all of you. He didn't. Sun Yang hastily said, when that man was robbed by us, he slapped a hunchback beast with his palm. The hunchback beast smashed into our group and exploded. Those shattered bones were like hidden weapons, causing many of our brothers to die and be injured. We fled in fear, but that man didn't chase after us. Young Master Li frowned. Fang Hong and the lean man called Chang, who were standing behind young Master Li, also frowned. What else do you know? Young Master Li asked. I don't know anything else. Sun Yang shook his head. Okay, get lost. Young Master Li said impatiently. Yes, yes. Sun Yang hastily left in fear. Soon, only young Master Li and a few of his subordinates were left in the courtyard. Young Master. The lean man called Chang said. He was able to send the hunchback beast flying with one palm and even made it explode. The shattered bones were like hidden weapons. This man is very strong. He might be a martial saint. Young Master Li looked at the tall middle-aged man, Fang Hong. Fang Hong frowned and didn't say anything. Whether he is a martial sage or not, we will know very soon. Young Master Li stood up and walked out of the courtyard. The others quickly followed him. Fang Residence, young Master Li's personal training field. A four-wheeled carriage made entirely of black metal was at the edge of the training field. On the carriage, there was a large iron cage welded together with iron rods as thick as an arm. The large iron cage was welded to the carriage, and the two were connected as one. Ho, ho, inside the cage, there was a man with messy hair that reached his waist. A barbarian with a naked body. This savage was naked, only his waist and crotch area were covered with animal skin pants. It was such a cold day, yet he was naked. His lean and sturdy body seemed to be made of steel. A pair of slightly red eyes like a ferocious beast. He roared at young Master Li and the others who had entered the training field. Yes, ominous beast is hungry. Let them prepare the food for ominous beast at night, young Master Li instructed. Yes. Young Master Li walked to the front of the iron cage of the carriage and carefully observed this savage. His eyes lit up as he clicked his tongue and praised, "Look, what a strong body. This slave, ominous beast, looks like he is only 15 or 16 years old. But he has such incredible strength." In the iron cage, the savage youth who was called Ominous Beast was staring at the humans outside the cage like a tiger watching its prey. This teenager, Ominous Beast, had iron chains on both of his hands and his legs. These chains were specially made. Even with Ominous Beast's strength, he couldn't break them. Young Master. The few people who were in charge of serving the savage youth rushed over and immediately saluted. Yes. Young Master Li walked over and took some of the game that these people brought. He carried a wild rabbit that was still alive and threw it into the cage through the gap. Ha! The teenager, Ominous Beast, grabbed the wild rabbit and tore it apart. Blood gushed out. He lowered his head and tore out a large piece of meat from the wild rabbit, chewed it, and swallowed it. When young Master Li saw this scene, a smile appeared on his face. "Hoo-hi!" Young Master Li called out. Immediately, a short man with several scars on his face approached and bowed. "Young Master. Tomorrow morning, I am going out to hunt with Ominous Beast." Young Master Li said. "Hunt?" The short man was startled. "Think of a way to train Ominous Beast." Let it know that it should attack people wearing white clothes. Young Master Li said calmly, will this be a problem? White clothes. The short man thought for a moment and nodded. Although he didn't understand the language of beasts, but sometimes, when taming beasts, they could make them do some simple things. They didn't need to understand the language of beasts. They only needed to think of a way to make the beast understand their request. Complicated requests couldn't be explained. However, a simple request was still fine. Young Master. Fang Hong was shocked. However, young Master Li smiled and said, Fang Hong, that person with the surname Ting is now staying in an inn, right? Yes, young master. Fang Hong was slightly worried, but, don't worry. Young Master Li smiled and said, it is already late. They are staying in an inn. When they leave the city tomorrow morning, we can just pretend that we met by chance. When that time comes, we can just pretend that we were careless and let ominous beast escape. With the strength of ominous beast, unless he is a martial saint, he won't be able to stop it. If he doesn't die tomorrow, I, Fang Li, will definitely sincerely invite him again. If he is killed by ominous beast, Fang Li's face darkened, then he can only blame himself for being arrogant without strength. He deserves to die. As for his woman, I will also take her. Young master, Fang Hong hastily said, that person might take his anger out on. What's there to take his anger out on? We didn't do anything. It was ominous beast that did. When that time comes, we will pretend to help stop it. Fang Li smiled and said, when that time comes, the main thing is to do everything well. That person with the surname Ting will definitely not suspect anything. When that time comes, we will bring a battalion of men over just in case. Asterisk, 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 asterisk night. On the third floor of an inn in Danyang City, Ting Qingshan was standing in front of the back window of the room. During the era of Emperor Yu, Duanmu continent only had a population of a few million. Now, there are actually 200 to 300 million. A smile appeared on Ting Qingshan's face as he thought to himself, the level of prosperity here is not much different from the land of the 9 prefectures. Through the back window, Ting Qingshan's gaze fell on a luxurious carriage in the backyard of the inn. A lame man was leaning on the carriage with a cigarette in his mouth. The lame man was Old Wang. Ting Qingshan had once asked him to stay in the inn, but Old Wang refused. He even said that the carriage made of cloudy mountain wood and the scarlet wind were very expensive. Therefore, he insisted on spending the night in the carriage. Smoke rose. Old Wang held the cigarette in his mouth, his eyes blurred. No one knew what he was thinking. This Old Wang is an inner strength expert. Yet, he is willing to take 30 taels of silver a month to be a coachman. Ting Qingshan looked at Old Wang below and felt slightly puzzled. With Ting Qingshan's strength, he was able to see Old Wang at first glance. From Old Wang's eyes and every detail of his body, Ting Qingshan could tell that Old Wang was an expert. The strength of a person's spirit could be determined from the eyes. If the eyes were dull and lifeless, it meant that the spirit was weak. As for the eyes of a super expert, they were usually restrained like a serene and deep pool, deep and unfathomable. And once they were angry, their gaze would even dazzle the eyes of others. Screech! A bird cry came from Li Jun's room next door. Phew! Phew! 2 shadows, one in front and one behind, darted into Li Jun's room from the back window with lightning speed. It was too frightening to have 2 great demonic beasts by her side. Therefore, the whole Gale Eagle and Blue Luan usually flew freely in the sky. Of course, they couldn't be too far away from Ting Qingshan and the others. Li Jun called out. They would arrive soon. At night, Li Jun rested with Ting Qingshan and the others. It's time for me to practice fist techniques. Ever since my internal supreme force stepped into the middle stage, I have been practicing fist techniques for a long time. Ever since my internal supreme force entered the middle stage, it has been a year. I feel that I'm only a little bit away from the late stage. The power of Ting Qingshan's internal supreme force was also extremely great. The middle stage of the internal supreme force was able to exert a force of nearly 400,000 jin. According to Ting Qingshan's estimation, the late stage of the internal supreme force should have an explosive force of 800,000 jin. In addition to his physical strength, it would be extremely shocking. Immediately, Ting Qingshan began to practice his fist techniques in the room. The next morning, Ting Qingshan carried the huge package containing the gold chest and ate breakfast with Li Jun and Little Ping. As for Old Wang, he took a few buns and ate them in the carriage. All right, everyone get ready to depart. Ting Qingshan carried the package and went to the backyard of the inn with Li Jun and the others. Boss, let me put this package in, Old Wang said enthusiastically. Hearing this, Li Jun and Little Ping revealed a strange smile. You'll help me? Ting Qingshan also smiled and gently put the big package on the ground. Yes, you can do it. This package contained 10,000 jin of gold, the reincarnation spear, and the splitting mountain axe. It was such a big package, but in Ting Qingshan's hands, it was naturally easy. It was like an ordinary package. Old Wang leaped off the carriage and grabbed the package with a smile. Old Wang's expression changed slightly. Old Wang, it's fine if you can't move it. Li Jun covered her mouth and laughed. It's fine. Old Wang didn't believe it. Old Wang exerted force with his right hand, but the entire package trembled slightly and didn't move at all. This scene caused Li Jun and Little Ping, who were at the side, to laugh. Old Wang put his pipe aside and grabbed the package with both hands. He took a deep breath. Hi! He finally picked up the big package, but Old Wang's face was flushed. It wasn't an easy task to put it in the carriage and place it in a corner. Old Wang, let me do it. Ting Qingshan smiled and grabbed the package as if he was grabbing a feather. He stepped onto the carriage and the carriage didn't even shake. He then placed the big package in the innermost part of the carriage. Old Wang, what's wrong? Li Jun and Little Ping giggled as they looked at Old Wang. Old Wang's face was filled with shock. He already knew that this package weighed at least 10,000 jin. Even if he was a Holodan innate expert, even if he could carry this package, how could he walk up the stairs without causing the stairs to crack? How could he get onto the carriage so easily and without the carriage shaking? How heavy was a carriage that weighed 10,000 jin? What kind of control ability was this? Old Wang finally understood what kind of master he had followed. Little Jun and Little Ping have entered the carriage. Old Wang, don't just stand there and stare blankly. Hurry up and drive the carriage. We need to leave the city as soon as possible. Ting Qingshan was currently riding on another hunchbacked beast and said with a smile. Yes, master. Old Wang hastily replied. Even the way he looked at Ting Qingshan was completely different from before. Chapter 337. Jia, Jia, Jia. A great number of cavalrymen galloped across the plains, causing the earth to tremble. At the forefront of this group of cavalrymen were 4 Scarlet Wind Warhouse galloping together, pulling a large carriage made of black metal. The young slave, Xiongshou, was trapped in a welded iron cage on the carriage. The Scarlet Wind Warhouse could carry a weight of nearly 10,000 jin. If they were to pull the carriage, they would naturally be able to carry even heavier goods. This specially made carriage weighed 60,000 jin. Because it weighed 60,000 jin, even though Xiongshou had left the iron cage, the iron chains that bound him were still tightly connected to the carriage. Even Xiongshou would not be able to escape while dragging a 60,000 jin object. Fang Hong, how does it feel to command an army of thousands and horses to gallop? At this moment, young Master Fang Li was slightly excited. Beside him, Fang Hong only smiled. There will be a day. Fang Li pointed at the boundless land in front of him and said, I will make the land that my eyes can see become my territory. I will make everyone on the land listen to my orders. Fong Li was high-spirited at this moment. He also had a dream. He dreamed that one day, he could be like the Thunder Blade deity, Duanmu Yu, and unify the entire continent. The boundless land in all directions. There will be a day when my will cover the entire continent. No one will be able to defy me. Young Master Fong Li rode on a trampling cloud golden hoe with lofty ambitions. Young Master, the group of people surnamed Ting has arrived. A subordinate immediately reported. The corners of Fong Li's mouth curled up into a smile as he thought to himself, this surnamed Ting cannot defy my will. If he is a martial saint, I will spare his life today. If he is not a martial saint. Fong Hong, who was at the side, sighed inwardly. This young master was good in every aspect, except for his arrogance. Jia. Fong Li immediately rode on the trampling cloud golden hoe and led the carriage carrying Xiong Shou and the 500 cavalrymen towards the official road in a formidable manner. On the official road, Ting Qingshan was riding on a hunchbacked beast while the coachman, Old Wang, was driving the carriage forward. In order to let little June and little Ping sit more comfortably in the carriage, the speed was not fast. Ting Qingshan looked to the west. An army was charging towards them. What's wrong? Li Jun and little Ping also looked outside through the two windows on the left side of the carriage. The carriage was a four-wheeled carriage, and the interior was extremely spacious, enough to accommodate more than 10 people. For such a large carriage, there were windows on both sides of the carriage. Mr. A hearty laughter came from afar. Fong Li, who was dressed in a golden battle robe, rode on a treading cloud golden hoe that was nearly 20 feet long and rushed over like a god of war. Behind him was a formidable group of several hundred cavaliers that were like a torrent of steel. Stop! Ting Qingshan extended his hand. Nay, nay, Old Wang stopped his horse. Li Jun and little Ping looked out of the carriage's window. What a coincidence! I just brought the berserk beasts out to hunt this morning. I didn't expect to meet you here. Fong Li stopped his war hoe and laughed, however. I didn't expect that you would leave the city so early this morning. If I didn't meet you this morning, it would be difficult to meet you again. Berserk beasts? Ting Qingshan said in surprise. That slave berserk beasts. Yes, that's him. Fong Li smiled and said, Mister, do you want to take a look? To be honest, Ting Qingshan was very curious about a slave youth that didn't cultivate inner strength, but had a physical strength of several tens of thousands of jin. After all, no matter if it was the land of the 9 prefectures or the Duanmu continent, Ting Qingshan had never seen anyone with such a strong physical strength other than himself. Let's go and take a look. Ting Qingshan jumped off the hunchbacked beast. Berserk beasts? Li Jun also got off the carriage with little Ping. Mr. Berserk beasts are in this carriage. Fong Li rode on the treading cloud golden hoe and quickly rushed to the side of the huge carriage. He turned his head and said to Ting Qingshan with a smile. However, Fong Li was secretly delighted. He glanced at the people driving the carriage. Among the people driving the carriage was Hu Hai, who knew how to tame beasts. Hu Hai understood the young master's intention, to create the scene of berserk beasts breaking out of the cage by chance. Hu Hai had already set up the mechanism of the iron cage. He only needed to do a little bit of work. Mister, please take a look. Fong Li said enthusiastically. Ting Qingshan stood beside the 4 Scarlet Wind Warhouse and raised his head to look at the slave berserk beasts in the iron cage. Although he was called berserk beasts, he actually looked like a youth of 15 or 16 years old. His body was lean and sturdy, as if he was made of steel. His hair was messy and long, but the most eye-catching thing about him were his nails and eyes. His nails were like sharp claws. His eyes flashed with an undisguised ferocity. Roar, roar, the youth berserk beasts rammed against the iron cage and let out a series of roars. The iron chains on his body vibrated and emitted heavy sound. Fong Li was secretly delighted. Yesterday, Ting Qingshan and Li Jun both wore white fur coat. Normally, it was impossible to change clothes every day in such a cold season. Therefore, Fong Li sent people to train berserk beasts to attack people wearing white clothes. If Ting Qingshan and Li Jun really changed their clothes today, Fong Li had no choice. However, just as he had guessed, Ting Qingshan and Li Jun had only worn the white fur coats for a day. How could they change? He really doesn't understand human language. Ting Qingshan looked at the youth berserk beasts in the iron cage and sighed. Suddenly, bang! The youth berserk beasts rammed against the iron cage again and again. As if there was a problem with one of the joints, the iron cage's door was knocked open. Not many people knew that berserk beasts wanted to come out and harm people. For example, among the people driving the carriage, only Hu Hai knew about it. The others didn't know. The 500 cavalrymen didn't know as well. The coachman was the first to cry out in alarm. "Protect young master!" The cavalrymen shouted as well. Roar! The youth berserk beasts pushed off the ground with his hands and feet and leaped up like a ferocious tiger. He transformed into a blur and pounced at Ting Qingshan, who was wearing a white fur coat 2 zhang away. The thick and long iron chain that connected his body to the carriage was 15 zhang long. In other words, the youth berserk beasts could kill anyone within a range of 15 zhang. At this moment, the distance between Ting Qingshan and the iron cage was only 2 zhang, 5 meters, away. When the youth berserk beasts pounced at him, ordinary people wouldn't even be able to react in time. "Mister, be careful!" Fong Li hastily shouted with a terrified expression. "Interesting!" Ting Qingshan waved his right hand. Bang! A palm landed on the youth berserk beast's shoulder. The youth berserk beast was sent flying. However, he flipped over and landed on his hands and feet. He was like a wild beast that was accumulating power. Suddenly, the youth berserk beast's entire body faintly became bigger, and his arms became slightly thicker. Buzz, a very faint sound rang out. However, in Ting Qingshan's ears, this faint sound was no less than a thunderclap. What? Ting Qingshan's eyes widened. He was astonished as he thought to himself, this sound is coming from within his body. This is... Ever since Ting Qingshan started fleeing, he had never been so astonished. Even when he saw the celestial jade annulus, he wasn't as astonished as he was now. Resonating tendons and bones! Boom! The youth berserk beasts dashed out again. This time, Ting Qingshan didn't use much strength. He only used his slightly superior strength to push the youth berserk beasts back slightly. At the same time, he carefully sensed the youth berserk beasts' attacking methods and strength. "Protect young master! Hurry!" The disorderly cavalrymen protected Fong Li well. However, Fong Li hastily shouted, "Mister, run quickly. This berserk beast is wild and hard to tame. He's very crazy." However, at this moment, how could Ting Qingshan listen to Fong Li? Although Fong Li shouted this, he was secretly delighted in his heart. Humph! Slightly superior? However, when berserk beasts was still young, even the experts who had the upper hand were killed when they encountered berserk beasts. Fong Li clearly knew how savage and crazy this youth berserk beast's methods were. Ting Qingshan was completely astonished as he thought to himself. He is a youth berserk beast who doesn't know how to speak and only knows how to roar. He actually reached the realm of resonating muscles and bones. This is something that only a grandmaster of the internal martial arts can achieve. Could it be that he actually comprehended the origin concept of Xing-Yi martial arts after living with wild beasts for a long time? In the history of Xing-Yi martial arts in Ting Qingshan's previous life, there were many people who used wild beasts as their teachers and achieved breakthroughs and reached the Grandmaster realm. However, to reach the Grandmaster realm without any guidance, that would be terrifying. In the past, martial ancestor Ji Jike created the godly tiger form technique. This youth berserk beasts, who doesn't understand the human language, actually managed to comprehend the essence of Xing-yi martial arts through numerous gambling cage fights. Ting Qingshan's eyes lit up as he thought to himself, good aptitude, good aptitude. I actually encountered such a talented and fine jade. Ting Qingshan was ecstatic. He wanted to create a third branch in the land of the 9 prefectures that was different from the Taoist and Buddhist sects, internal martial arts. However, for a branch to flourish, the teacher was important. However, there must be a disciple who could inherit the teacher's skills. Internal martial arts had an extremely high requirement for aptitude. It was extremely difficult to reach the Grandmaster realm. Now that the heavens have sent such a talented and fine jade to me, how can I not accept it? Ting Qingshan's eyes lit up as he thought to himself, this youth berserk beasts is the eldest disciple under Ting Qingshan's tutelage. Ting Qingshan had already made a decision. Why hasn't he been killed yet? What's going on? Fong Li, who was under the protection of the knight, started to feel anxious. Ha! Along with the extremely happy laughter, Ting Qingshan's right hand actually grabbed Xiong Shou's left and right hands and kicked Xiong Shou's abdomen, causing Xiong Shou to fall to the ground and gnaw on the dirt. Xiong Shou unwillingly tried to struggle free. However, Ting Qingshan's right hand was like an iron hoop. It made it impossible for Xiong Shou to struggle free. What? Fong Li, who was watching this scene from afar, was greatly shocked. This person surnamed Ting is actually so strong. Of course, he knew how astonishing Xiong Shou's brute force was. However, there was actually someone who was able to stop Xiong Shou from struggling free with just one hand. Without a doubt, this person's strength was definitely at the martial saint realm. Martial saint. Fong Li was slightly unwilling, but he still took a deep breath and thought to himself, no matter what, this person's surname Ting is still a martial saint. If he joins my Fong clan, in the future, won't he still have to fight for me? Yes. I must subdue him and use him for me. Fong Li had already made up his mind. This Xiong Shou is very strong. It is definitely true that he can lift a huge rock that weighs 10,000 jin with one hand. I feel that the strength of his arms is close to 10,000 jin. Ting Qingshan was secretly delighted. After all, he had improved according to the most perfect plan. Thus, when he was 16 years old, his strength was close to 200,000 jin, which was 2 times that of this youth. Xiong Shou bared his teeth and stared at Ting Qingshan unwillingly. His eyes were filled with wildness and unwillingness. Humph! Ting Qingshan's eyes turned cold and filled with killing intent. Simultaneously, he exerted force with his right hand, and Xiong Shou's wrists were in extreme pain. Xiong Shou was subdued and no longer dared to bare his teeth and roar. This Xiong Shou's nature is like that of a wild beast. When my strength surpasses his and he feels the killing intent, he will bow to the strong. Ting Qingshan felt that the disciple he was about to accept was not a human but a wild beast. It seems that teaching him in the future will be very difficult. Ting Qingshan muttered in his heart, but it could not conceal his joy. Clang! Ting Qingshan grabbed the iron chain that was connected to the carriage and tied Xiong Shou up tightly, making him unable to struggle. Ting Qingshan then loosened his grip. Mr. Fong Li, who was escorted by many knights, rushed over and asked, Mister, are you all right? I'm fine. Ting Qingshan was in a very good mood at this moment. This Xiong Shou's wild nature has not changed. If Mister was really injured today, then Fong Li would not be able to rest easy. Fong Li smiled and said, Fortunately, Mister's strength is extraordinary and divine, and you captured this Xiong Shou. It also allowed me to see Mister's shocking strength. Mister, my Fong family is thirsty for talent. I, Fong Li, would like to invite Mister to join my Fong family again. Mister, if you have any wish, please feel free to tell me. Fong Li, don't mention this again, Ting Qingshan said. Fong Li was unwilling, but he had just seen Ting Qingshan's strength. He could only hate in his heart as he thought to himself. The one with the surname Ting, I have invited you several times, but you refuse to give me face. Fine, one day I will make you beg me on your knees. Since Mr. is unwilling, Fong clan will not force you. Fong Li continued to smile and said, Men, put Xiong Shou into the iron cage and lock him up. Don't come out and hurt people again. Yes. Immediately, many people rushed over. At this moment, Xiong Shou was tied up by the iron chain and posed no threat. Fong Li, this Xiong Shou will follow me from now on, Ting Qingshan said calmly. How could he let this disciple go? What? Fong Li was startled. The knights also stopped and turned their heads to look at their leader, Fong Li. Fong Li, I need to hurry on with my journey. I will leave first. Ting Qingshan picked up Xiong Shou. Fong Li was dumbfounded. Originally, he wanted to use Xiong Shou to deal with Ting Qingshan. Who would have thought that he would suffer a double loss? Not only did he fail to deal with Ting Qingshan, he even lost a powerful Xiong Shou. At this moment, Li Jun, who was at the side, walked over and said, Big brother Ting, don't worry. Ting Qingshan was immersed in the joy of obtaining a good disciple and didn't notice anything wrong. However, Li Jun, who was outside the situation, felt that there was a problem. Why did Xiong Shou break out of the cage so coincidentally? Why did he attack Ting Qingshan alone? Ting Qingshan stared at Li Jun. Li Jun let out a deep roar towards Xiong Shou. Xiong Shou was stunned at first, but his eyes immediately revealed an expression of ecstasy. He hadn't been able to communicate with humans for more than 10 years, but now he could finally. Xiong Shou roared repeatedly in response to Li Jun's question. As she listened, Li Jun's expression turned ugly. What's wrong, little Jun? Ting Qingshan was startled. Big brother Ting. Li Jun pointed angrily at Fong Li, who had already mounted the trampling cloud golden hoe, and roared angrily. It wasn't a coincidence that Xiong Shou came out. Fong Li purposely arranged for Xiong Shou to attack the person wearing white. It was obvious that Fong Li wanted to kill Big Brother Ting, but he also wanted to kill us. This kind of person must not be spared. 3 chapters finished. Brothers, do you have monthly votes? Do you have recommendation votes? Can you leave a message? If you can cast a monthly vote, then cast a monthly vote. If you can cast a recommendation vote, then cast a recommendation vote. Tomato needs the support of his brothers. Chapter 338. We can't go around them. Li Jun's angry rebuke reverberated across the plains. Fong Li, who was riding the trampling cloud golden hoe, was filled with panic. How could this be? How could that woman speak the language of beasts? In this world, only the Tianfeng clan of the northern Frosty region knows the language of beasts. There are hundreds of millions of people in this world. How could there be such a coincidence that a person who knows the language of beasts would appear here? Ting Qingshan's eyes seemed to flicker with lightning as murderous intent appeared. This Fong Li is indeed ruthless. He made Xiong Shou kill the person wearing white. No wonder he wore a white robe yesterday and changed into a golden battle robe today. He deliberately wants to kill me, little Jun, and the others. This kind of person deserves to die. Ting Qingshan didn't have the slightest bit of pity for this kind of person. Fong Li, you are courting death. An angry roar that was like rolling thunder spread in all directions. This angry roar scared Fong Li so much that his heart trembled. His face turned pale as he hastily shouted, This person wants to assassinate us. Stop him. Quick, stop him. Fong Li's shout was hoarse and the 500 cavalrymen could hear it clearly. The soldiers had to obey orders. All the cavalrymen immediately went to protect Fong Li. Young master. What's going on? Only a small portion of the 500 cavalrymen heard Li Jun's words. The majority of the people didn't hear it at all. Many of them were puzzled and didn't understand. Fong Li, do you think you can escape? The angry roar of the god of war reverberated in the heavens and the earth. Ting Qingshan grabbed the iron chain that connected Xiong Shou's body to the carriage and exerted force. With a chi sound, the iron chain broke as if he was crushing a piece of tofu. Ting Qingshan grabbed the iron chain and shook it fiercely. Even though the part that was tied to Xiong Shou's body was broken, the iron chain was still 30 zhang long. Rumble, the vibration of the iron chain was transmitted to the carriage, causing the carriage to shake. Shield formation. The leader of the cavalrymen roared. The 500 cavalrymen immediately lined up in an orderly manner. The first row of spears was like a forest as they waited quietly. Humph! Ting Qingshan was like a god of war from ancient times. Every step he took caused the ground to shake. With just 2 steps, he kicked the carriage made of black metal that weighed 60,000 jin. An earthy yellow electric light flew up from Ting Qingshan's foot and completely shone on the entire carriage. Boom! The entire carriage exploded, completely breaking apart from the chains. Ting Qingshan held the 30 zhang long iron chain in his hand and kicked twice with lightning speed. The violent internal supreme force acted on the fragments of the carriage. Rumble, Xiao! 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 The thousands of metal shards on the carriage shot forward like shooting stars toward the cavaliers, who were lined up neatly and prepared to defend themselves. No! Run! This was especially true for the first row of cavalrymen. Their faces were drained of all color in an instant as they screamed and no longer cared about their formation. Poochie! 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 One by one, the metal shards pierced through the chest, abdomen, or head. Especially those in the first row, some of the cavalrymen were shot full of holes. Roar, roar, the hunchbacked beasts that were originally obedient also roared and ran in disorder after being shot by a large amount of metal shard. It was only the first wave, but only a few dozen people died. However, there were even more injured. Most importantly, the hunchbacked beasts ran in panic, causing the cavalry formation to completely collapse. Ha! Ting Qingshan laughed loudly. Every step he took covered a distance of 5 to 6 zhang. Every step he took caused the ground to tremble and crack. He was like the god of earth. At the same time, he waved the 30 zhang long black iron chain. Phew, phew, the iron chain turned into a windmill. Once the 30 zhang long iron chain danced, with Ting Qingshan as the center, the area of 30 zhang, 5 meters, around him would become a death zone. Such a large area caused many cavalrymen to scream in fear. They frantically tried to escape the death zone. Seeing that they couldn't escape, they jumped down from their hunchbacked beasts and lay on the ground. Whoosh! The iron chain windmill swept past. Those who couldn't escape in time and had slow reactions were directly minced into minced meat by the iron chain windmill. In the blink of an eye, Ting Qingshan, who was waving the iron chain windmill, rushed through the cavalry formation. So terrifying! Is he human? As the numerous surviving cavalrymen watched Ting Qingshan's back as he chased after young Master Fong Li, their legs still felt weak and their hearts were beating wildly. To these soldiers, the terrifying person who was waving the iron chain windmill was simply the god of death. Fighting with him was the same as throwing away your life. Little Ping and the coachman, Old Wang, looked at this scene in shock. Boss, madam. Old Wang knew that Ting Qingshan was powerful, but when he saw this scene, his heart still trembled. Uncle, you're too powerful. Little Ping clenched her fists tightly. She immediately lowered her head and looked at Xiong Shou, who was tied up by the iron chain. You actually wanted to kill Uncle and us? Now you're dumbfounded, right? If Uncle wants to kill you, it'll be as easy as killing a fish. Little Ping was obviously proud of following Ting Qingshan. Xiong Shou didn't understand what Little Ping said at all. He only stared at the scene happening in the distance in horror. He had been bound by the iron chain for a long time and was very clear about how strong and heavy the iron chain was. He had a great strength of nearly 10,000 jin, but he couldn't break the iron chain. It was easy to guess that the iron chain was extraordinary. The Fang clan spent a great amount of money to hire a powerful craftsman to specially forge this iron chain. The 150 zhang long iron chain weighed nearly 10,000 jin. Ting Qingshan could wave the iron chain that weighed nearly 10,000 jin. Moreover, he could wave it so swiftly and violently, and he could run so fast. It was indeed terrifying. Xiong Shou's simple intelligence allowed him to understand one thing: that human was much stronger than him. Quick, stop him, stop him! Fang Li roared as if he had gone mad. He sat on the trampling cloud Golden Ho and dashed madly. Unfortunately, although the trampling cloud Golden Ho was fast, once Ting Qingshan erupted with speed, he was even faster than it. How could this be? How could this be? Fang Li was completely confused. Behind him, the sound of Ting Qingshan's footsteps, which caused the earth to shake, and the sound of the iron chain and the windmill were rapidly approaching. I will be the future patriarch of the Fang clan. I will lead the army and conquer the main cities one by one. I will unify the world and make everyone worship me as their lord. How can I die today? Fang Li was unwilling to believe it. He still had great ambitions that he hadn't completed. How could this be? I have calculated everything. Even if Xiong Shou fails, this person wouldn't know that I was the one who arranged it. But how could there be someone who understands the language of beasts by his side? Also, how could that person be so strong? There are 500 cavalrymen, but they couldn't even stop him for 10 minutes. Fang Li was unwilling. It's the heavens that killed me! Fang Li roared. Fang Li, are you still thinking of escaping? A powerful voice rang out. The dancing iron chain was like a terrifying python as it swept through Fang Li's surroundings. Immediately, none of the people who were protecting Fang Li dared to resist this iron chain that was like a python. Who? Everyone, including Fang Li, leaped to the ground. Fang Li fell to the ground and was about to escape. Fang Li! That voice almost scared Fang Li out of his wit. He raised his head and looked in front of him. Ting Qingshan was standing in front of him while holding the thick and long iron chain that was covered in blood. It's over. Fang Hong, who was not far from Fang Li, sighed in his heart. Ting Qingshan lowered his head and looked at the dazed Fang Li. He was no longer as carefree as he was before. You can't kill me. Fang Li suddenly raised his head and hastily said, This won't do you any good. Fang clan. Fang Li, I saw that you were quite smart before, but now you've become muddle-headed. Ting Qingshan's voice was calm. His gaze was as though he was looking at a corpse. I didn't want to kill, but you provoked me. As for the Fang clan you spoke of, haha, in my eyes, your Fang clan is nothing. Ting Qingshan kicked out. Pooh! Fang Li had no time to dodge. The tip of Ting Qingshan's foot kicked Fang Li's throat. Hee. Fang Li's eyes widened as blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. Before death came, many scenes appeared in his mind. His diligence when he was young and how he stood out among his peers in the Fang clan. From then on, he was the favored son of the heavens. Who didn't know young Master Li? He had a grand plan to draw and a dream to realize. Unfortunately, following Ting Qingshan's kick, everything became empty. Fang Li's eyes dimmed and his body fell to the ground, no longer moving. Clang! Ting Qingshan's hand loosened and the iron chain fell to the ground. Afterwards, Ting Qingshan walked back, leaving Fang Li's right-hand men looking at each other in dismay. Oh right, Ting Qingshan turned around and looked at Fang Hong. I've seen you a few times before. I think your name is Fang Hong. Go back and tell the patriarch of the Fang clan. If he wants to take revenge on me, I don't mind. However, this is merely a grudge between me and Fang Li. If the Fang clan were to get involved, if the Fang clan gets involved, it'll be a grudge between me and the Fang clan. Before you take revenge on me, Get ready, from now on, the Fang clan will be erased from the Duanmu continent. Ting Qingshan spoke calmly, but his words caused the surrounding people to tremble with fear. When Ting Qingshan walked past the group of cavalrymen, the cavalrymen distanced themselves from Ting Qingshan. There was a distance of over 20 zhang between them. So scary. Captain, why is this person so powerful? The cavalrymen were completely confused. The captain who was questioned had a trace of blood on his face. His heart trembled as he looked at Ting Qingshan's back and the mess around him. He muttered, "How did we offend him? How would we dare to stop him? We're courting death." If the cavalrymen knew the consequences, how would they dare to stop him? Now that they thought about it, it was indeed courting death. Big brother Fang Hong, what should we do now? The people looked at Fang Li's corpse and then at Fang Hong. Fang Hong carried Fang Li's corpse and said with a sullen face, "Don't spread the news of young master's death for now. Now let the patriarch decide." "Uncle!" Little Ping cheered. "Boss, Old Wang, have really broadened my horizons." Ting Qingshan smiled and looked at Xiong Shou, who was tied up like a dumpling. "Little June, help me ask him if he's willing to take me as his teacher." Chapter 339. Li Jun smiled in surprise. "Big brother Ting, you have never accepted a disciple before. This should be the first." Old Wang, who was at the side, said in surprise, "Disciple? What do you mean?" Li Jun hastily explained, "A disciple is a follower. In Duanmu continent, there was no such thing as a disciple. Instead, it was called a follower. Calling him master meant calling him teacher." Roar, roar! Li Jun lowered her head and looked at Xiong Shou. Xiong Shou's eyes were filled with an indescribable color as he roared. Xiong Shou was unable to communicate with humans for many years, so he liked the girl who understood the language of beasts very much. He felt that the girl before him was the cutest and nicest person among humans. "Boss, with your strength, it is a blessing. Xiong Shou will definitely agree." Old Wang chuckled. Of course. Little Ping was also full of confidence in Ting Qingshan. Of course. Little Ping was also full of confidence in Ting Qingshan. Ting Qingshan lowered his head and looked at Xiong Shou. The more he looked, the more he liked him. This was a good disciple who could pass on his legacy to Ting Qingshan. In the future, he would be able to develop his internal martial arts. Without anyone's guidance, he was able to reach the Grandmaster realm by just learning from Xiong Shou and sensing the nature of the world. A genius! If he understood human language, who would have taught him the cultivation of inner strength in the beginning? Then he probably wouldn't be able to reach the Grandmaster realm. Ting Qingshan sighed inwardly. It's hard to tell if it's a blessing or a curse if he doesn't understand human language. Roar! Li Jun's expression was not very good as she roared again and again. However, Xiong Shou remained silent. What's wrong? Ting Qingshan felt that something was wrong. Big brother Ting. Li Jun looked over helplessly. This Xiong Shou is a stubborn person. Big brother Ting might have fought with him before. Therefore, this Xiong Shou is hostile towards you. No matter what I said, he wouldn't listen. He's completely stubborn and stubborn. Ting Qingshan was slightly astonished when he heard this. I didn't kill you just now. Ting Qingshan looked at Xiong Shou helplessly. Xiong Shou, on the other hand, did not make a sound. This Xiong Shou youth doesn't understand the human language. He has been living with wild beasts for a long time, so his intelligence is probably like that of a child. Ting Qingshan guessed in his heart. I'm afraid his way of thinking can't be compared to ordinary people. Ting Qingshan kept thinking about how to make Xiong Shou listen to him. Low intelligence, but full of wildness. After spending a few years in the gambling cage fight, this Xiong Shou youth's temperament was indeed hard to predict. Big brother Ting, Li Jun said helplessly, this Xiong Shou youth's temperament is like that of a wild beast. You don't know the way he talks to me, it's like a 2 or 3-year-old kid. Also, He's more stubborn than a 2 or 3-year-old. His brain seems to be completely rigid. Let's continue. We'll slowly think of a way along the way. Ting Qingshan walked over and directly untied the iron chains on Xiong Shou's body. Little June, tell him that if he tries to attack or escape, I will break his legs. All right. Li Jun immediately told Xiong Shou. Roar! Xiong Shou hastily roared at Li Jun. Li Jun looked at Ting Qingshan with a smile and asked, Big brother Ting, can you guess what Xiong Shou said to me just now? What did he say? He would rather die than submit? Or something else? Ting Qingshan couldn't figure out Xiong Shou's thoughts. Li Jun couldn't help but laugh. I told him what you said, and Xiong Shou just told me that. He won't leave, he will follow me. Follow you? Ting Qingshan seemed to understand. Xiong Shou had suffered enough from not being able to communicate with humans. If he left Ting Qingshan and the others, then what awaited Xiong Shou would be being captured by another group of people. He didn't have the intelligence of a human. Although he had great strength, he could easily capture Xiong Shou by setting up a trap. If he left Li Jun, he would continue his miserable fate. Xiong Shou, who had suffered for more than 10 years, didn't want to suffer like that again. He must follow this human girl. Xiong Shou made up his mind. In the evening, the sky was almost completely dark. The carriage of Ting Qingshan and the others stopped beside a river at the side of the official road. They were going to spend the night here. Big brother Ting, it seems like the Fang clan of Danyang City won't come to kill us, Li Jun said with a smile. Yes, it has been the entire day. Our traveling speed isn't fast. If they wanted to kill us, they would have caught us a long time ago. Ting Qingshan cast a glance toward the south and smiled. The Fang clan is the owner of Danyang City, so they aren't that stupid. With this, Ting Qingshan cast his gaze to the side. Xiong Shou, who was naked and only wore a pair of animal skin underpants, squatted on the ground with both his hands and feet like a lone wolf. Stand up! Ting Qingshan suddenly shouted. Xiong Shou looked over and was glared at by Ting Qingshan. Xiong Shou immediately understood the meaning of this powerful human and immediately stood up. Li Jun couldn't help but laugh. Big brother Ting, it's already very difficult for him to learn how to walk straight. Li Jun said. Yes, when I turn my head, this kid will lie on both his hands and feet again. Ting Qingshan was anxious and helpless. Although Xiong Shou didn't recognize him as his master, Ting Qingshan had already started to forcefully change some of Xiong Shou's rules. For example, he should stand and walk, and he should use chopsticks when eating. It's very difficult to teach this kind of disciple. Ting Qingshan sighed and smiled bitterly. Old Wang, prepare some clean clothes for this kid. Ting Qingshan shouted. Yes, boss. Old Wang was very diligent. Next, I have to make him cut off his long fingernails. I have to make him take a bath and put on clothes. Ting Qingshan himself felt that it was very difficult. However, when he created the branch of internal martial arts, his eldest disciple wouldn't even wear clothes. If this spread out, it would be really embarrassing. Moreover, Ting Qingshan also wanted Xiong Shou to return to human life. Kid, follow me. Ting Qingshan walked over and stretched out his hand to grab Xiong Shou. Hee, Xiong Shou grimaced in fear. I'm telling you not to resist. Ting Qingshan didn't care about the consequences. He grabbed Xiong Shou's neck and lifted him up. Ting Qingshan knew that this disciple of his had the strength of 100,000 jin. With such a body, the endurance of his neck was extremely high. It was impossible for Ting Qingshan to injure Xiong Shou by lifting him up. Xiong Shou's eyes flashed with an ominous glint as he was lifted up. However, when he recalled how terrifying the person in front of him was, he didn't dare to make any other move. Late at night, Blue Luan and Whole Gale Eagle landed on the roof of the carriage to rest, while Little Ping and Li Jun rested inside the carriage. The carriage was very wide. Even the front of the carriage door could fit 3 to 4 people. Ting Qingshan was sitting cross-legged at the door of the carriage. Ho-hoo, a faint snoring sound came from the side. Ting Qingshan turned his head and saw Xiong Shou, who was wearing a gray cotton-padded jacket and had his face washed clean, curled up on the ground. He's still a teenager. Ting Qingshan looked at him silently. When Xiong Shou put on his clothes, he looked like an ordinary human teenager. However, when he curled up on the ground, he looked like a cat. Big brother Ting. Li Jun came out from the carriage door. She also looked at Xiong Shou and a peaceful smile appeared on her face as she said, "Ah Shou is actually just a child. He's an insensible child, a child who acts on his nature and wild nature. No one has been taking care of him." Ting Qingshan nodded. Ting Qingshan could still clearly remember the process of forcefully cutting off the sharp nails and forcing Xiong Shou to put on his clothes. It's impossible to talk nicely to this stubborn kid. We have to use force. Ting Qingshan said. I'll help. Li Jun smiled and said, Don't always use your fists. Big brother Ting, starting tomorrow, I plan to teach Ah Shou to speak with little Ping. Li Jun said. Learn to speak? When Ting Qingshan heard this, he nodded slightly and said, Yes, that's a good idea. However, I'll have to trouble you. It's okay. Li Jun looked at Ah Shou like a mother looking at her child. Actually, I feel that he's very pitiful, much more pitiful than me. He didn't have parents since he was young and lived among wild beasts. He doesn't even know how to speak. With me and little Ping teaching him, I believe that Ah Shou will be able to speak. Ting Qingshan looked at Li Jun and smiled. Little Jun, you look like Ah Shou's mother right now. Then who is Ah Shou's father? Li Jun asked. Ting Qingshan was stunned. He coughed twice and turned to look in another direction. The godly axe mountain had a special meaning in Duanmu continent. The godly axe deity, Yu the Great, was the one who unified the language and characters and spread the method of cultivation. The citizens of Duanmu continent were extremely grateful to the godly axe deity, Yu the Great. Because of Yu the Great, Duanmu continent also had 12 months in a year, and the yearly sacrifice was also held. On the day of the yearly sacrifice, almost all the clans would pray to the godly axe deity, Yu the Great. To the south of the godly axe mountain, there was the biggest city in Duanmu continent, Nanshan City. It was also known as the Great Yu City and the Godly Axe City. Nanshan City could be said to be the most prosperous place in Duanmu continent. Even the Thunder Blade deity, Duanmu Yu, had set his capital in Nanshan City after he unified the world. At this moment, Ting Qingshan and the others had already left Danyang City for 8 days and were only 100 li away from Nanshan City. In the evening, clop, 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 the carriage moved forward. Ting Qingshan and the coachman, Old Wang, sat in front of the carriage. The one riding the hunchbacked beast was a skinny, long-haired youth dressed in a gray cotton-padded jacket. It was Xiong Shou. After a few days of training, Xiong Shou looked more like a human. Ah Shou! Little Ping shouted through the window of the carriage. Xiong Shou immediately turned his head and looked over. After learning to speak with Li Jun and Little Ping for a few days, Xiong Shou was very familiar with the word Ah Shou. Aho! Xiong Shou also spoke with difficulty. Li Jun, who was on the other side of the window, immediately shook her head and roared twice to tell Xiong Shou that his pronunciation was wrong. Then, she said, Ah, Shou. Ho. Xiong Shou's tongue seemed to be stiff, and his pronunciation was always wrong. Ting Qingshan listened to the scene of Li Jun and Little Ping teaching Xiong Shou how to speak and couldn't help but laugh. For the past few days, Li Jun and Little Ping had been teaching Xiong Shou like this as they traveled. Now, Xiong Shou could speak a few words. Although his pronunciation was not accurate, it was still an improvement. Old Wang, it's getting late. It seems that we have to spend the night in the wilderness. We can only reach Nanshan City tomorrow. Ting Qingshan said with a smile. Yes, we can reach tomorrow afternoon. Old Wang said with a smile. Ting Qingshan suddenly looked ahead. On the official road in the distance, there was a huge black mass formed by countless soldiers. P.S. 2 chapters completed. I'll just write 2 chapters today. Tomato had taken a leave of 3 days and owed everyone a lot of chapters. Tomato was trying his best to repay them. He had written 3 chapters in the past 3 days. Today I'll take a breather. I'll also summon my recommendation votes and monthly votes. Ever since he took a leave of 3 days, Tomato had been writing seriously. He was serious about every chapter. I hope everyone can vote for Tomato. Thank you. Chapter 340. Boss. Old Wang looked at Ting Qingshan. Big brother Ting, what's going on up ahead? Li Jun lifted the curtain of the carriage and asked. Ting Qingshan looked ahead and saw a large number of soldiers setting up camp. They were stationed in the empty wilderness on the left side of the official road. At first glance, it looked like a sea of people. However, after taking a closer look, although there were countless soldiers stationed there, the official road was not occupied. Travelers could still pass through. An army is stationed there, Ting Qingshan said with a smile. The sky is not completely dark yet, and they are already stationed there? Li Jun said in surprise. Old Wang, who was at the side, chuckled and said, Lady June, on both sides of the official road, there are barren mountains and farmlands. If so many soldiers want to station themselves, they need a large area. There aren't many places like this. If they continue to advance, they might not have a place to camp and rest. Li Jun blushed when she heard this. Continue forward, Ting Qingshan said with a smile. Clop, clop, clop. 2 Scarlet Wind Warhouse pulled the carriage and advanced rapidly. Xiong Shou, who was riding the hunchbacked beast, kept muttering, "Aho! Aho!" They gradually approached the army camp. On the nearby official road, there were many soldiers holding sabers or long spears. They looked at Ting Qingshan's group with ill intentions. Ting Qingshan sat leisurely in front of the carriage with his right hand holding the reincarnation spear. Li Jun looked outside through the window. Haha, little beauty, smile for me. Tisk tsk, what a pretty girl. The bored soldiers, who had just finished dinner, immediately laughed and yelled. Humph. Li Jun immediately covered the window with the curtain and didn't show her head. Little Beauty is angry. Little Beauty, don't be in a hurry to leave. When the soldiers saw that Li Jun didn't show her face, they couldn't help but laugh. However, although they were laughing and joking, none of the soldiers dared to stop Ting Qingshan's group. Because the army had military rules, there were many people on the official road. The higher-ups of the army naturally forbade their subordinates from obstructing others. The military discipline of this army should be quite strict. Ting Qingshan revealed a smile. However, as they moved forward, Ting Qingshan's expression turned ugly and he frowned. In the carriage, Ting Qingshan immediately saw, beside the official road, in the middle of the army, there were a large number of slaves with their wrists tied with ropes. There were men and women, and almost all of them were adults or teenagers. There were no children or elderly people. All the slaves had dirty faces and tattered clothes. They were surrounded and guarded by a large number of soldiers. There were a lot of slaves, and they were divided into several piles. There were thousands of slaves in each pile. So many slaves? Ting Qingshan frowned and muttered. Boss! At the side, Old Wang lowered his voice and said, Right now, the great clans are at war with each other. There are many who are defeated and become slaves. Looking at this army, I reckon they're escorting slaves from some place to Nanshan City. Nanshan City was the most flourishing city in the entire Duanmu continent. Of course, the slave trade was also the most developed in Nanshan City. Slaves. As the carriage moved forward, Ting Qingshan suddenly saw a man who looked like an officer walking towards another pile of slaves. The officer looked carefully, then grabbed a delicate woman and fiddled with her messy hair. Raise your head. The officer shouted coldly and looked carefully. A smile appeared on his face, and he calmly ordered, Bring this woman to my tent. The slave woman's eyes were filled with terror. Yes, Lord. The two soldiers behind him immediately obeyed and went to grab the slave woman. No, no, Your Excellency, spare me, spare me. The slave woman immediately begged, but the two soldiers were too strong to care about the woman's begging. One of them grabbed the woman's shoulders, and the other grabbed the woman's legs and lifted her up. Let go of her. A man at the side roared. Let go of my sister. Although the two men's hands were tied, they still struggled and fiercely rammed into one of the soldiers, knocking him down. You're rebelling. The soldier guarding the slaves immediately waved his long whip and ruthlessly lashed one of the male slaves. Pah, pah. The sound of the whip hitting flesh caused the other slaves to tremble. The two male slaves rolled on the ground after being whipped. Motherf * Kerr whipped them hard. How dare they hit me? Hurry up! The officer shouted indifferently. Spare them. I'll go with you, I'll go with you. The slave woman broke down. Kill me if you can. At most, I'll die. F** Kers. One of the male slaves who was whipped howled. Seeing this scene, Ting Qingshan sighed inwardly. There were many slaves in Duanmu continent. Indeed, slaves could be said to have no autonomy at all. Their lives and deaths were controlled by others. These people have probably just become slaves, so they will still resist. Old Wang shook his head and sighed. Wait until they have suffered enough and lost all hope. After they've suffered and died, they will become numb. No one could help these slaves. Even the powerful Thunder Blade deity, Duanmu Yu, couldn't help them. At this moment, Ting Qingshan and Old Wang didn't notice Xiong Shou. Because Xiong Shou was in front of the carriage, Ting Qingshan couldn't see how hideous Xiong Shou's face was. Xiong Shou stared at the scene in front of him. Scenes appeared in his mind. He was captured by a slave trading organization when he was a child, and the terrifying experiences he had after that. What he hated the most were those humans who captured, beat, and killed slaves. Those humans were what he hated the most. The hatred of more than 10 years. You want to die? If you become a slave, you can't even die if you want to. Let him have some fun. Don't kill him. We still need to sell him for money. Yes, Lord. Xiong Shou's eyes began to turn red when he saw this scene. He was a wild beast. Once he went crazy, he dared to kill anything. Even Fong Li didn't dare to get close to Xiong Shou. Roar, a furious roar resounded in the wilderness. Not good. By the time Ting Qingshan heard the roar, Xiong Shou had already dashed into the crowd of soldiers. Xiong Shou was like an angry wild beast. He ran on all fours. Wherever he passed, blood splattered everywhere. Miserable howls sounded one after another. In the blink of an eye, he had dashed to the place where the slaves were guarded. Ah! Xiong Shou grabbed the soldier who was torturing the male slave. Let him go. The officer, who had already walked far away, turned his head and saw this scene. He immediately roared angrily. A large number of soldiers in the surroundings were stunned. Where did this lunatic come from? However, they were immediately enraged. Someone actually dared to attack their army single-handedly. Roar! Xiong Shou lifted the soldier high up with a ferocious expression. Let me go, the soldier howled. Xiong Shou exerted force with his hands. Rip, the soldier's body was directly torn apart and blood splattered everywhere. Kill him! The officer shouted angrily. Xiong Shou's throat emitted a series of strange sounds. Covered in blood, he leaped out again. He would kill anyone who dared to obstruct him. However, this time, he did not succeed. Stop! A deep and furious roar suddenly resounded in the sky like the sound of thunder. Ting Qingshan grabbed Xiong Shou's shoulder. No matter how Xiong Shou resisted, he could not break free. He turned his head and glared at Ting Qingshan with his blood-red eyes as he emitted deep roars. Ting Qingshan looked at him coldly and exerted force, causing Xiong Shou to be in extreme pain. Kill! Kill him! The group of soldiers surrounded Ting Qingshan. A large number of machetes slashed and long spears pierced. Ting Qingshan's other hand was holding onto the reincarnation spear. In an instant, the reincarnation spear transformed into thousands of spear shadows. A series of crackling sounds could be heard as weapons were sent flying. The group of soldiers surrounding Ting Qingshan and Xiong Shou widened their eyes. How could this? One by one, the soldiers lowered their heads and looked at their empty hands. When they looked at Ting Qingshan again, their eyes were filled with terror. What's going on? A dissatisfied and angry roar sounded. Two people walked over from not far away. One was an old man wearing a hat and a luxurious robe. The other person beside him was a strong man with a resolute face. He carried a huge machete on his back. His gaze was like lightning, causing people's hearts to tremble. Supervisor Mu. The officer immediately saluted respectfully. What's going on here? The old man said discontentedly. The officer said respectfully, just now that lunatic suddenly attacked. In the blink of an eye, 3 of our brothers died. A few others were injured. I gave the order to kill him. However, this white-robed young man suddenly appeared and suppressed the lunatic young man. At the same time, he also sent the surrounding soldiers' weapons flying. The old man looked at his surroundings and was secretly shocked. In an instant, all the weapons that were attacking from all directions were sent flying. However, he did not injure a single person. His strength was very powerful. Who are you? How dare you attack my army camp? The old man looked at Ting Qingshan. Ting Qingshan pressed down Xiong Shou with one hand and said calmly, My disciple hates people who escort and sell slaves. Just now, your people tortured the slaves, which probably made my disciple furious. So, he attacked and killed several of your people. I didn't discipline him well enough. Please forgive me. You attacked my army camp and killed my people. You want to settle this with just a few words? The old man's face darkened. I asked you just now, who are you? You didn't answer me. I am Ting Qingshan. Ting Qingshan looked at the old man with a faint smile. May I know who you are? The old man also said indifferently, I am Mu Wan, the supervisor of the Rising Sun Trading Company. This army is the army of the Rising Sun Trading Company. My Rising Sun Trading Company spent a large sum of money to buy these slaves. Your disciple killed my people. How about this? You, as his teacher, come with me. P.S. Chapter 1 is here. Chapter 341. Rising Sun Trading Company? Ting Qingshan was slightly surprised. He originally thought that it was the army of a great clan, but he didn't expect it to be the army of the Rising Sun Trading Company. Although Ting Qingshan hadn't been in Duanmu continent for long, he still knew a lot about the famous Rising Sun Trading Company. For example, the Rising Sun restaurant, which could be found throughout the 36 major cities, was one of its businesses. As a great trading company, restaurants were only one of its businesses. The Rising Sun Trading Company would definitely intervene in the extremely profitable slave trade. Moreover, it was one of the overlords in the slave trade. At least 20 to 30% of the slave trade in the world was controlled by the Rising Sun Trading Company. 20 to 30% didn't sound like much. But after all, many clans contending for hegemony in the world were also involved in the slave trade. The Rising Sun Trading Company was able to compete with the great clans and obtain 20 to 30% of the slave trade. Although the Rising Sun Trading Company didn't conquer the world, it was one of the few superpowers in Duanmu continent. Manager Mu, Ting Qingshan said with a faint smile, I still have matters to attend to. Mu Wan's face darkened. The surrounding soldiers all stared at Ting Qingshan. Mu Wan said coldly, What? The men of the Rising Sun Trading Company died in vain? Ting Qingshan was indeed in the wrong in this matter. In Duanmu continent, slaves were goods. Even if the trading company killed the slaves while transporting goods, It had nothing to do with Ting Qingshan. The trading company didn't provoke Ting Qingshan, but Xiong Shou killed 3 of the men of the Rising Sun Trading Company and injured several others. He was completely in the wrong. Manager Mu, tell me a solution. Ting Qingshan smiled indifferently. Humph! Mu Wan just opened his mouth. Suddenly, the entire ground suddenly shook. The surrounding slaves and soldiers all lost their balance and fell. Crack, the ground cracked, forming deep trenches. Earthquake! It's an earthquake! The surrounding soldiers cried out in alarm. The 9 prefectures were the center of the world, and disasters in the 9 prefectures were rare. However, there were many natural disasters in Duanmu continent, such as volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, devastating cold currents, and so on. Protect Lord Steward! Quite a few people shouted. Even Mu Wan was a little panicked. That's strange. Why didn't the other places shake? Ting Qingshan said in surprise. The earth stopped shaking. That's right. The surrounding area is shaking and the ground is cracking. Strange. Many of the soldiers were also puzzled. They realized that the soldiers in other places were not in a mess at all, but here their tents had collapsed, torches had fallen, and it was very messy. Steward Mu, why don't you name a number? Ting Qingshan smiled at Mu Wan. Mu Wan looked at Ting Qingshan. The look in Ting Qingshan's eyes and his previous performance made Mu Wan instantly understand the cause of the fake earthquake. He couldn't help but feel shocked. It must have been him just now. This Ting Qingshan actually made the earth tremble without making a sound. He's definitely an inborn expert, a martial saint. Good skills. Beside Mu Wan, a strong man carrying a huge machete on his back stared at Ting Qingshan and said, being stared at by this strong man was like being stared at by an enormous ancient beast. You're not bad yourself. Ting Qingshan smiled and glanced at the strong man carrying the machete. He then looked at Mu Wan and asked, Steward Mu? Mu Wan glanced at the strong man beside him and said with a faint smile, It seems that Mr. Ting and Mr. Fu are friends. Since that's the case, then let's do it this way. For the 3 dead soldiers, you'll pay 3,000 taels of silver. In addition to the many injured soldiers, you'll pay a total of 5,000 taels of silver. 5,000 taels of silver seemed a lot, but, actually, the death of 3 ordinary soldiers was a small matter. The Rising Sun Trading Company's reputation was a big deal. 5,000 taels of silver could solve the problem. Mu Wan guessed that Ting Qingshan was a martial saint expert. He then lowered his head. Fine. Ting Qingshan turned to look at the official and said loudly, Old Wang, bring me 40 taels of gold. Yes. The coachman, Old Wang, responded loudly. Li Jun, who had been looking out of the carriage window, immediately took out 40 taels of gold from her bundle and gave it to Old Wang. In the era of the Thunder Blade deity, Duanmu Yu, 1 tael of gold was worth 100 taels of silver. However, the people of Duanmu continent loved gold very much. Normally, large clans would store gold as their family asset. This caused the amount of gold in the world to decrease. Nowadays, it was publicly acknowledged that 1 tael of gold could be exchanged for 126 taels of silver. In some places, 1 tael of gold could even be exchanged for 130 taels of silver. Boss, 40 taels of gold. Old Wang held 2 large gold bars in his hands. Each of these gold bars weighed 1 jin. Steward Mu. Ting Qingshan handed over the 2 gold bars. Good. This matter is settled, Mu Wan said as he received the 2 gold bars. However, a thought flashed through his mind as he thought, 1 jin gold bar. Such a large gold bar. It should have been smelted by some large clans and hidden in their homes. What is the background of this Ting Qingshan? Not to mention the 1 jin gold bar, Ting Qingshan's chest of gold also contained large gold bricks. They were even heavier. These were the gold that the Lu clan of the Dark Iron River was preparing to make a comeback. Since this matter is settled, I won't disturb you any further. Ting Qingshan finished speaking with a smile. He then dragged the teenager, Xiongshou, and walked out. The teenager, Xiongshou, could not resist Ting Qingshan at all. However, he still turned his head and stared at Steward Mu Wan. Although the teenager, Xiongshou, had low intelligence, the rules of wild beasts made him very clear that the old man in the army escorting the slaves before him was an important figure. Ting Qingshan, wait a moment. A rough voice sounded. It was the brawny man carrying a giant machete on his back. His eyes were blazing. Mr. Fu, Mu Wan hastily said, we haven't finished our discussion. He was very clear about the temperament of this martial saint, Mr. Fu. If he encountered a powerful expert, he would definitely challenge him. Mr. Fu hesitated for a moment. He watched as Ting Qingshan boarded the carriage and said, he is hurrying towards Nanshan City. The carriage isn't fast. I will be able to catch up with him in a while. Steward Mu, let's continue our discussion inside the tent. The sky was completely dark. 20 li away from where the Rising Sun Trading Company's army was stationed, Ting Qingshan and the others stopped to rest. Ah Shou, don't act recklessly in the future. Little Ping handed a roasted leg of lamb to the teenager, Xiongshou. Fortunately, the Rising Sun Trading Company's steward took the strength of the boss into consideration. Otherwise, the Rising Sun Trading Company wouldn't have let them off so easily. Old Wang chuckled. Although he only had one eye, he still appeared quite amiable when he smiled. Ting Qingshan frowned and looked at the road from afar. Someone is coming. Li Jun and the others all turned their heads to look. The whole Gale Eagle, who was on the roof of the carriage, also looked towards the south. Clop, clop, clop. The sound of hurried hooves rang, and a figure riding a one-horned war hoe rushed over at an extremely fast speed. Brother Ting. The figure leaped down from the war hoe. It's you? Ting Qingshan stared at the person before him. The teenager, Xiongshou, stared at the approaching person, his eyes flashing with an ominous glint. The teenager, Xiongshou, remembered clearly that the influential old man in the army had been extremely respectful towards this brawny man who carried a huge machete on his back. In the eyes of the teenager, Xiongshou, this brawny man should be someone with a higher status than the old man in the army. Mr. Fu. Ting Qingshan smiled and said, Mr. Fu, may I know why you have come to my place? Brother Ting, I am Fu Dao. The brawny man with disheveled hair and eyes like lightning said loudly. Just now, Brother Ting calmly caused the ground to tremble and crack. If my guess is correct, Brother Ting is at least a true Dan innate expert. Or even a golden Dan innate expert. I, Fu Dao, travel the world and love to spar with experts. I wonder if Brother Ting is willing to spar with me? Ting Qingshan cast a glance at Li Jun, who was beside him. The current Ting Qingshan really didn't care about innate experts. He was currently cultivating diligently in order to step into the emptiness realm. Fu Dao. Old Wang, who was at the side, cried out in surprise, You are the Thunderblade Martial Saint, Fu Dao. The Thunderblade Martial Saint? Ting Qingshan looked at Old Wang, and Old Wang immediately explained, Boss, there are a few martial saint experts in this world, but some are famous, while some are not. Mr. Fu Dao, cultivates the lineage of the Thunderblade deity, and is respectfully called the Thunderblade Martial Saint. He is definitely a Golden Dan innate expert, and all the forces in this world hold Mr. Fu in high esteem. Ting Qingshan smiled. Golden Dan innate expert? That's right. The entire Duanmu continent only has a population of 200 to 300 million, which is equivalent to one prefecture in the 9 prefectures. There were probably no more than 10 Golden Dan innate experts, and any Golden Dan innate expert was a great figure that could make the Duanmu continent tremble. However, Ting Qingshan didn't know that the heavens were fair. The Duanmu continent, which had many natural disasters, would also be blessed by the heavens. Being able to have 2 omnipotent experts, "You the Great and Duanmu you," meant that the Duanmu continent wasn't as simple as he thought. "You want to spar with me?" Ting Qingshan looked at Fu Dao. "Yes." Fu Dao stared at Ting Qingshan. "Come on, hurry up." Ting Qingshan picked up the reincarnation spear at his side and walked to the empty space on the left as he said calmly. Ting Qingshan didn't feel excited at all about fighting with a Golden Dan innate expert. Fu Dao frowned slightly. He felt that the person before him was too arrogant. "Be careful," Fu Dao shouted in a low voice. Clang! In the eyes of Lao Wang and Li Jun, who were watching from the side, a streak of azure lightning shot up into the sky from the scabbard on Fu Dao's back. Immediately, Fu Dao's entire figure became blurry as the streak of azure lightning rushed towards Ting Qingshan. Everywhere it passed, the ground was incinerated into nothingness. The sound of thunder could be faintly heard. "Good saber art!" A loud and clear voice sounded. Clang! A crisp sound rang out. Fu Dao retreated more than 10 steps. His face was flushed, and there was a trace of blood at the corner of his mouth. He looked at Ting Qingshan in shock. Looking down at himself, the skin on his right palm had been completely cracked by the impact. How is this possible? One move, just one move? Fu Dao recalled the scene just now and couldn't believe it. However, a moment later, Fu Dao's eyes lit up and his face revealed a hint of ecstasy. "So that's how it is, so that's how it is." Immediately after, Fu Dao bowed as if a disciple was saluting his master. "Thank you for your guidance, mister. You comprehended it on your own. There's no need to thank me." Ting Qingshan waved his hand indifferently and walked towards Li Jun and Lao Wang. Suddenly, Ting Qingshan looked at Xiong Shou in surprise. Chapter 342. "Ah Shou, why are you looking at me like that?" Ting Qingshan stared at Xiong Shou. At this moment, the expression on Xiong Shou's face surprised Ting Qingshan. Xiong Shou had followed Ting Qingshan all the way from Danyang City for quite some time. However, Xiong Shou had never looked at Ting Qingshan like this. Xiong Shou's eyes were filled with desire and hesitation. "Mr. Ting." Fu Dao walked over. Ting Qingshan turned to look at the Thunderblade Martial Saint, Fu Dao. Fu Dao's face was still full of joy as he bowed and said, "Before I met Mr., I thought my saber art had reached the pinnacle. I couldn't improve further. I thought there were only a few people in this world who could surpass me. Only now do I know that there are still experts like you in this world who conceal their identities and are unknown to the public like you. I will never forget Mr.'s guidance." "Your saber art is almost at the pinnacle," Ting Qingshan said. Fu Dao froze. "Saber art is still considered a technique," Ting Qingshan said. "As the saying goes, technique advances Dao. You have reached the pinnacle of technique, and the next step is Dao. You need to break through now to seek your Dao. When your Dao reaches a certain level, you will become a martial immortal." On Duanmu continent, innate experts were called saints and martial saints. Emptiness realm experts were called gods and martial immortals. Only those who reached the omnipotent realm were called gods of heaven. "Technique advances Dao. My Dao?" Fu Dao murmured. His eyes regained clarity as he bowed again and said, "I don't dare to disturb Mr.'s rest. I will take my leave first." Ting Qingshan nodded. Looking at Fu Dao, Ting Qingshan seemed to see himself, who was pursuing Dao. He and Fu Dao were not that different. The only difference was that Fu Dao didn't understand Dao. Ting Qingshan, on the other hand, had already walked a distance on the path of Dao. He wasn't far from stepping into the emptiness realm. "Mister, that flying demonic beast." Fu Dao glanced at the whole Gale Eagle on the roof of the carriage in surprise. "Is it also Mister's?" "I got it by chance." Ting Qingshan also glanced at the whole Gale Eagle. Fu Dao clicked his tongue in admiration. "Mister is indeed extraordinary, to be able to command such a powerful demonic beast. I, Fu Dao, know a lot about the experts in this world, and I also know how many people in this world can control demonic beasts. But I have never heard of you. Fu Dao's admiration for Ting Qingshan grew. Normally, when one reached the emptiness Dan of the innate realm, which was the initial stage of the martial saint realm, one's reputation would spread far and wide. Now that he had reached the golden Dan innate realm, all the great clans in the world would know about him. However, Ting Qingshan was not well known. In Fu Dao's opinion, he was the real hidden expert. Impressive, impressive. Fu Dao immediately mounted the hunchbacked beast. Go! The hunchbacked beast ran and disappeared at the end of the road. Big Brother Ting! Li Jun's face was filled with joy. This is the Thunderblade Martial Saint, a top-notch expert in Duanmu continent. He was defeated by you in one move. In my opinion, in Duanmu continent, there shouldn't be anyone who can surpass Big Brother Ting. Little June, you can't look down on the people in this world. Ting Qingshan shook his head. Uncle, look at Uncle Wang. Little Ping smiled. Ting Qingshan turned his head and looked. At this moment, Old Wang blinked his eyes and took a deep breath to calm the shock in his heart. He looked at Ting Qingshan and smiled bitterly. Boss, you don't have to be modest. You defeated the Thunderblade Martial Saint. This is not an ordinary martial saint. Moreover, you won with just one move. Unfortunately, there was no one else around. If it was under the watchful eyes of tens of thousands of people, this news would definitely spread throughout the entire continent at a terrifying speed. At that time, boss, your name would be known by everyone. Old Wang, are there any martial immortal experts in this world? Ting Qingshan inquired. There should be. Old Wang was slightly hesitant. What do you mean there should be? Ting Qingshan smiled. If there is, then there is. If there isn't, then there isn't. Old Wang laughed self-deprecatingly. Boss, I am just an ordinary warrior. I'm not even an innate expert. How many secrets can I know? In Duanmu continent's 4 regions and 36 main cities, some great clans have existed for more than 1,000 years. Even some clans that have lost power hide on islands or in some mountains. It is indeed difficult to find hidden experts. However, it is widely rumored that the #1 clan in Duanmu continent, the Tianfeng clan, has a martial immortal expert. Of course, the Tianfeng clan is the overlord of the northern frosty region. Moreover, it is rumored that the martial immortal expert lives in one of the 3 most dangerous places, the Tianfeng Canyon. Hearing this, Li Jun and Little Ping were astonished. Rumor. Is it true? The rumors in the outside world should be true. Ting Qingshan fell silent. Ting Qingshan knew a little about Duanmu continent. The core of the entire world was the land of the 9 prefectures. Ever since Emperor Yu forged the 9 cauldrons and shook the origin of the heavens and the earth, the land of the 9 prefectures had never experienced any disasters. However, Duanmu continent had endless natural disasters. Among them, the 3 most dangerous places had the worst environments. The first was the Blazing Flame Territory in the Eastern Flower region. The Blazing Flame Territory was a place where volcanoes frequently erupted. The Blazing Flame Territory had volcanoes one after the other. Volcanoes might erupt at any time. At the shortest time, volcanoes erupted several times a year. The longest interval between the 2 eruptions was only 8 years. The second was the Dreamy Cloud Swampland in the West Tang region. The 3,000 Dreamy Cloud Swampland should be the largest of the 3 most dangerous places. It occupied more than half of the entire West Tang region. The Dreamy Cloud Swampland was filled with danger. Even martial saint-level experts didn't dare to wander in there. The third was the Tianfeng Canyon in the northern frosty region. The Tianfeng Canyon was the coldest place in the entire Duanmu continent. The cold air that blew out from the mouth of the canyon could freeze an expert at the peak of the post-liminary realm to death within a few breaths. Without reaching the martial saint level, it was impossible to enter the canyon. An ancient clan occupied the Tianfeng Canyon. This clan was also known as the Tianfeng clan. It was the #1 clan in the entire Duanmu continent. The immortal of war lives in the Tianfeng Canyon? Ting Qingshan nodded to himself. This clan has almost unified the northern frosty region and is the #1 clan in the entire Duanmu continent. It would be strange if they didn't have something to rely on. Other than this one, it is said that there are other martial immortals in the world. Old Wang pretended to be mysterious. Who? Li Jun asked with a smile. I have only heard about it. Old Wang shook his head. Ting Qingshan smiled. Duanmu continent only had a population of 200 to 300 million. My hometown, Yangzhou, is one of the 9 prefectures. It has a population of 200 to 300 million. The only emptiness realm expert is the blind swordmaster of Qinghu Island. And the one in my Guiyuan sect. There are only 2 in total. There are probably only 1 or 2 in the entire Duanmu continent. Ting Qingshan didn't dare to look down on the residents of Duanmu continent since it was a land that had given birth to omnipotent experts. Little June, Ting Qingshan stared at Xiong Shou and said, Ask him what he wants. Ever since I defeated Fu Dao, he has been staring at me. Ah Shou. Li Jun turned her head and looked at Xiong Shou, letting out a deep roar. Xiong Shou looked at Li Jun and let out a series of deep roars. He seemed to be very anxious. Li Jun froze. What's wrong? Ting Qingshan asked. Li Jun stared at Ting Qingshan with a strange expression and said, Big brother Ting, didn't I tell Ah Shou to take you as his teacher? What did he say? Ting Qingshan nodded hastily, suppressing the excitement in his heart. Could it be? This little beast is finally willing to take me as his teacher? In order to make Xiong Shou take me as his teacher, Ting Qingshan had used all kinds of methods. However, Xiong Shou was stubborn. In the end, Ting Qingshan could only announce that he would take Xiong Shou with him for the time being. Drag it out slowly. Let's see who can outlast the other. Ting Qingshan couldn't bear to give up such a good disciple. Ah Shou just told me that he is willing to take you as his teacher. Li Jun didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Really? Ting Qingshan couldn't help but reveal a happy expression. He stared at Xiong Shou, who was still staring at him with a cold expression, and asked, Why is he suddenly willing? Li Jun had a strange expression as she said, I asked him just now. He said, The one with the saber is more powerful than the old man in the army. And you are more powerful than the one with the saber. Ah Shou said he wants to be as powerful as you. Therefore, he wants to take you as his teacher. What nonsense are you talking about? Ting Qingshan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Who is more powerful than who? Little Ping hastily said, Uncle, I know. The Rising Sun Trading Company's army escorts slaves. Steward Mu is the leader of the army. Steward Mu is very respectful to Fu Dao. Fu Dao was defeated by you just now, so he is also very respectful to you. He even respectfully calls you Mr. This Ah Shou must have suffered too much when he was escorting slaves in the past. Now, he wants to be as powerful as you. That makes sense. Li Jun nodded. What makes sense? Ting Qingshan didn't know whether to laugh or cry as he said, Didn't I beat the Fong clan's cavalry to the point that they could only lie on the ground outside Danyang City? He should have known of my strength long ago. Why didn't he take me as his teacher at that time? Ah Shou's brain is different from ordinary people. Li Jun couldn't help but laugh. Ting Qingshan looked at Xiong Shou, who still had an ugly face, and sighed inwardly. This eldest disciple of his was proficient in fighting and killing. He even learned it without a teacher and reached the realm of resonating muscles and bone. However, according to normal logic. Yet, he behaved like a naive child. Moreover, he was even more stubborn than a child. Little June, tell him to kowtow and take me as his teacher. Ting Qingshan said. Okay. Li Jun immediately told him. Xiong Shou looked at Li Jun pitifully. He had never kowtowed before and didn't know how to do it. Under Li Jun's guidance, Xiong Shou knew the essentials. First, kneel down, put both hands on the ground, and hit his head on the ground. Bang, bang, bang. He kowtowed 3 times. After kowtowing 3 times, he actually prepared to kowtow again. Roar, Li Jun hastily reminded Xiong Shou before he stopped. Ting Qingshan touched his forehead. Oh my God! He even needs someone to teach him how to kowtow. Teaching such a disciple will be very difficult in the future. From today onwards, I am your teacher, and you are my disciple. Remember, do whatever teacher asks you to do. If teacher doesn't allow you to do it, you must not do it. Ting Qingshan could only use this method. Li Jun also conveyed Ting Qingshan's meaning to Xiong Shou at the side. Xiong Shou knelt there and growled, as if he was obedient to Ting Qingshan's words. A smile appeared on Ting Qingshan's face. You have no name or surname. From today onwards, you will follow my surname. You grew up with Xiong Shou. You will be called Ting Shou. Ting Qingshan said with a faint smile. Li Jun explained to Xiong Shou and even repeated the pronunciation of the name Ting Shou. Ting. Ho. Xiong Shou forced out these 2 words, but the pronunciation of the word Shou was always wrong. Ting Ho. Xiong Shou shouted excitedly. He finally had a name. Since then, Ting Shou, who grew up with Xiong Shou, became the first disciple of Ting Qingshan. Chapter 343. Nanshan City was also known as Diyu City and Godly Axe City. When Duanmu Yu unified the world, he established Nanshan City as the imperial capital and the largest city in Duanmu continent. At noon the next day, Ting Qingshan and the others arrived at Nanshan City. On the main street of Nanshan City, 2 Scarlet Wind Warhouse pulled a luxurious carriage and advanced slowly. Wow, this Nanshan City is really big. Li Jun looked outside through the curtain and praised. Old Wang, who was driving the carriage, laughed and said, Nanshan City is divided into an inner city and an outer city. When the Thunder Blade deity unified the world, he expanded Nanshan City. Originally, the inner city was equivalent to an ordinary main city, but with the addition of the outer city, it can accommodate 4 to 5 million people. It's the largest city in the world. It's big enough. Ting Qingshan also praised. Such a big city could be compared to Imperial Yu City in the land of the 9 prefectures. There are so many people. Little Ping also looked outside through the curtain, her eyes shining. As expected of the largest city in the continent, there are countless rangers. Ting Qingshan praised. On the road, warriors wearing cotton-padded jackets and carrying sabers or huge axes could be seen everywhere. Clop, clop, clop. The sound of galloping horses could be heard as a few hunchbacked beasts dashed through the middle of the street, causing the pedestrians on the street to give way. Riding so fast, aren't you afraid of bumping into people? Li Jun humphed. No matter where it is, there will always be some powerful and arrogant people. Old Wang laughed and said, Fortunately, this street is at least 10 zhang wide. We will stay by the side. As long as there are no large groups, we won't be affected. The Godly Axe Mountain is northwest of Nanshan City. Ting Qingshan looked up at the sky and said, it's getting late. How about we go to the Rising Sun restaurant to have lunch first and then go to the Rising Sun restaurant? After lunch, we will go to the Godly Axe Mountain. Yes, boss. Old Wang replied respectfully. Ever since Ting Qingshan ate the food at the Rising Sun restaurant in Danyang City, he had to admit that the quality of the food was pretty good. Therefore, as long as he wasn't in a hurry, Ting Qingshan would usually eat at the Rising Sun restaurant. There were a lot of people on the street, and Ting Qingshan and the others did not want to rush around in the middle of the street, so they moved at a slower pace. Go. Hiya. Go. Suddenly, a series of shouts rang out, and even the ground of the street shook slightly. A group of people was mounted on Azure Unicorn Battlehouse. The leader of the group was mounted on a trampling cloud golden hoe. The team was advancing rapidly in the middle of the street. 3 or 4 warhouse were running side by side, and there were dozens of them. In an instant, it occupied an area of 40 to 50 feet on the street. "Get out of the way! Be careful!" The streets were in a state of chaos. The wanderers and young ladies all dodged to the sides. At such a fast speed, someone might die if we're not careful. Ting Qingshan frowned. "They are all riding war puppets. They are not ordinary people," Old Wang said, while the two were talking. Because a large group of people on the street were dodging to the sides, a young girl dressed as a maidservant was careless in the crowd and was knocked down. She was even stepped on by others who were in a hurry to dodge. "Go! Hiya! Hiya!" The team of war puppets galloped forward, leaving only the maidservant girl who was stepped on the ground. However, the team of war puppets did not stop. The maidservant girl's eyes were filled with terror. "Big Brother Ting!" Li Jun, who saw this scene from the side of the street, said anxiously. Whoosh! Ting Qingshan's figure disappeared in front of the carriage, leaving an afterimage in midair and appearing in the middle of the street. Ting Qingshan extended his right hand and held the maidservant girl's waist. He turned around and quickly carried the maidservant girl, using his body to protect her. At the same time, Ting Qingshan used his left arm to block the trampling cloud golden hoe. Bang! The trampling cloud golden hoe collided with Ting Qingshan's arm. Ting Qingshan's arm didn't move at all, but a powerful force burst forth. Roar! The trampling cloud golden hoe let out a deep roar and retreated a few steps due to the impact. "Stop!" The battle-cloaked man on the trampling cloud golden hoe stretched out his hand and shouted. With a series of deep roars, the dozens of war puppets immediately stopped. Each of the cavalrymen stared at the white-cloaked figure who was protecting the maidservant girl. "Good job! He's a man!" Many people on both sides of the street immediately started shouting. This caused the battle-cloaked man on the trampling cloud golden hoe to have an unsightly expression. He had a high status, but he felt very humiliated when he rode the war puppet on the street and was stopped. "Isn't that the Murong clan's second young master?" "Yes, it's the Murong clan's second young master. That young man is unlucky. He actually provoked the Murong clan's second young master. In Nanshan City, the Murong clan's second young master is an overlord." When the Murong clan's second young master heard this, he immediately scanned the surroundings. The passers-by on the street immediately quieted down. "Who are you?" The Murong clan's second young master shouted condescendingly. "Just a passerby." Ting Qingshan glanced at him and asked, "Are you the Murong clan's second young master?" "Yes." The Murong clan's second young master was somewhat fearful of the person in front of him. "My trampling cloud golden hoe is a first-class war puppet. When it flies, its impact definitely exceeds 10,000 jin. However, this mysterious person actually blocked my trampling cloud golden hoe with a single arm. Moreover, my war puppet couldn't even move a step forward. This strength," the Murong clan's second young master deduced. To be able to do this with a single arm, it meant that the strength of a single arm was at least 10,000 jin. He's definitely a martial saint expert. The Murong clan's second young master was somewhat angry. "I'm so king unlucky to actually encounter a martial saint. Second young master Murong, there are many people on the street. It wouldn't be good to run into someone and kill them." As soon as Ting Qingshan finished speaking, he released the maidservant girl he was protecting. It was only now that Ting Qingshan had the opportunity to take a closer look at the maidservant girl. The maidservant girl was thin and weak. She wore a small green cotton-padded jacket and had a pair of very clear eyes. The tight cotton-padded jacket also outlined the young girl's figure. Her small chest was also bulging. At this moment, there was a special glint in her eyes as she looked at Ting Qingshan. There were even traces of tears in her eyes. Be careful on the road from now on. Let's go back. As soon as Ting Qingshan finished speaking, he turned and walked towards the side of the street. The maidservant girl looked at Ting Qingshan's retreating figure. Get out of the way! The Murong clan's second young master, who was riding the trampling cloud Golden Hoe, shouted. Although he was angry, he didn't dare to run into him. It was not wise to offend a martial saint. The maidservant girl came to her senses and hastily moved to the side of the road. The sound of hoofbeats continued as the Murong clan's second young master's troop of warhouse left rapidly. Just now, the maidservant girl watched as Ting Qingshan's figure boarded a carriage. He really looks like my father. The maidservant girl still remembered the scene just now clearly. When she was in a state of panic and despair, she was lifted up by a tall figure who used his body to protect her. That sense of security caused her to recall the scene when she was young, the scene when her father saved her. Ah, foster father will definitely find out that I sneaked out. Let's go back quickly. How unlucky. I was almost hit by the warhouse. The maidservant girl looked at the sky and hastily dashed into an alley at the side, fleeing at lightning speed. In the carriage, Big Brother Ting, you saved the damsel in distress. Li Jun teased. You're joking with me too. Ting Qingshan smiled as he glanced at her. Li Jun smiled as she glanced at the alley across the street. I saw it clearly just now. That little girl was staring at you all the way until you boarded the carriage. Ting Qingshan shook his head and didn't say anything more to Li Jun. Ting Qingshan also noticed Li Jun's temper. When it came to bandits, Li Jun only had one thought in her mind: kill. She was even more ruthless than Ting Qingshan. However, when it came to these weak little girls and orphans, Li Jun's heart was softer than anyone else. However, if any little girl was interested in Ting Qingshan, Li Jun would be slightly jealous. Old Wang, hurry up. Let's go to the Rising Sun restaurant and have lunch. Ting Qingshan hastily ordered. Yes, boss. Nanshan City was the #1 city in the world. Until now, no clan had been able to occupy it. However, the 3 clans that had the most hope of occupying Nanshan City were the 3 great clans. These 3 great clans were all great clans with roots in the Nanshan region. Therefore, they dared to have designs on Nanshan City. One of the 3 great clans, the Wang clan. Nanshan City, Inner City, Wang clan mansion. The maidservant girl dashed to the entrance of the Wang clan mansion and was about to sneak in through the side door. Hey, Xiaoyan! A frivolous voice sounded. The maidservant looked over and saw a noble young master dressed in a luxurious green fur coat walking over with several servants. Xiaoyan, why did you leave the residence? Greetings, third young master. The maidservant bowed slightly. Xiaoyan, you don't have to be so polite with me. As he spoke, the noble young master stretched out his hand to touch the maid's small hand. The maid named Xiaoyan quickly dodged, but the noble young master frowned and said in surprise, Xiaoyan, why are there footprints on your body? What was going on? Tell me, I'll vent your anger for you. No, I have to go back. I have to cook for foster father. The young maidservant bowed slightly and quickly ran away. The noble young master looked at the young girl's back and sniffed his hand. Tsk, how fragrant! Third young master. Behind the noble young master, a young man with sunken eyes like a venomous snake said in a low voice, Third young master, this Miss Xiaoyan, if third young master wants, this little one can help? No. The noble young master shook his head. Don't act recklessly and anger her foster father. If my father finds out, he will definitely be furious. He will break my legs. At this moment, the noble young master saw a few figures and couldn't help but shiver. Father! The noble young master hastily bowed. Among the few people who came, the leader was dressed in a luxurious black fur coat. His face was fair and without a beard. The middle-aged man frowned and scolded. Hong what are you doing here? I just want to go out for a stroll. The noble young master didn't dare to say much. Don't cause trouble for father these few days, understand? The middle-aged man frowned and said, All right, I won't talk to you anymore. Father still has to see Mr. Fu. With that, the middle-aged man left with his subordinate. P.S. That's the second chapter, there's still the third chapter. Chapter 344. The young master's face darkened as he watched his father leave. Let's go. The young master's face darkened as he left the mansion with his 4 servants. The young man with sunken eyes said in a low voice, Young master, in my opinion, the patriarch is unfair. The first young master and second young master handle the family affairs. However, he is very strict with you, third young master. A few days ago, he just fooled around with a woman, and the patriarch got so angry. Second young master executed all 5 of his maids, and the patriarch didn't say anything. In my father's eyes, I'm just a good-for-nothing playboy. The young master gnashed his teeth and said, The Wang family, the Black Dragon City, one of the 9 main cities of the Nanshan region, controlled hundreds of li of land, and had nearly 10 million citizens. The Wang family was equivalent to a small country. It was a small matter for a prince of a small country to fool around with a woman. His eldest brother led the army, and his second brother governed the government. Countless lives were lost. He didn't have any power. In the eyes of others, he was just a playboy. How could he, Wang Hong, accept this? Since he thinks I'm a playboy, then I'll be one. Wang Hong rubbed his chin as a cold light flashed in his eyes. Since my eldest brother and second brother want to be the housekeeper, then let them fight for it. I'll just enjoy my life. By the way, are there any good goods recently? Shook his head and said, Young master, most of the good goods have some background. It's hard to deal with them. Useless. Wang Hong scolded. Nanshan City, the second floor of the Rising Sun restaurant. Ting Qingshan and the others were sitting by the window. Even Xiong Shou was dressed neatly and sat there obediently. Although Ting Qingshan's carriage was very expensive, Ting Qingshan was not worried. Firstly, the Rising Sun restaurant took good care of their guests' belongings. Secondly, there was a demonic beast in the carriage, Blue Luan. If someone broke into the carriage and tried to steal it, there would only be one result: killed by Blue Luan. Last time we wanted to eat on the 3rd floor, but failed. This time we haven't eaten yet. Li Jun helplessly looked up at the stairs leading to the 3rd floor. The 3rd floor has been booked by some Wang family. Old Wang lowered his voice and said, Miss Li, the Wang clan is one of the top clans in the entire Duanmu continent. When I was roaming the outside world, I heard that there were 3 or 4 clans plotting to take over Nanshan City. However, Nanshan City was not a piece of meat that could be swallowed easily. These few families were all fighting over it. One of them is the Wang clan. Who cares who he is? Ting Qingshan smiled. Eat well. After you're done, let's go to the Godly Axe Mountain. What *T family? In any case, Ting Qingshan ignored all of them. Clack. 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 Footsteps could be heard from the stairs. Third young master, there are 2 more tables up there, a waitress said respectfully. Which one would you like? Ting Qingshan noticed something from the corner of his eye. A young man dressed like a nobleman was holding the small hand of the waitress with a playful smile. I want both tables. Today, you will accompany me to a table with my subordinate. My subordinates are at the same table. The waitress's face was flushed red, but she didn't dare to resist. Because she knew the identity of this nobleman. The third young master of the Wang clan, Wang Hong, was a terrifying person who could make young girls turn pale. Countless women had been defiled by him. If they were obedient, they might be able to escape, but if they resisted, they would be in trouble. Yes, third young master. The waitress didn't dare to resist. I don't need you to accompany me today. The third young master touched the waitress's bosom and said with a smile, As for the banquet at noon, we'll follow the old rules. The waitress blushed and hastily went downstairs. She secretly heaved a sigh of relief and was puzzled at the same time. Why is this third young master so easygoing today? The third young master glanced at Ting Qingshan's table. When his gaze swept past Li Jun's face, his eyes glowed with a faint red light. It was as if a hungry wolf had suddenly seen a plump white sheep in front of it. This young girl, tsk. This appearance, this temperament. The third young master instantly became excited. Her appearance is 70 to 80% similar to that martial saintess. Even her temperament is so similar. Tsk. This is a gift from the heavens. The third young master was a profligate son, or rather, he was dead set on being a profligate son. He didn't know how many women he had gotten. However, he was too lazy to deal with ordinary women. But good women were very difficult to deal with. As for the martial saintess, not only was she beautiful, but she was also very powerful. To some influential people, they didn't care about beautiful women. What they desired the most was to be able to control some powerful and beautiful women, just like the ordinary people in Ting Qingshan's previous life. Although some of the female celebrities might not be as good-looking as some of the ordinary beauties, it was because of their fame. It made people envious. In Duanmu continent, the martial saintess attracted the hearts of many men. She was beautiful and incomparably powerful. Whoever could get his hands on such a woman would gain face. Just imagining that scene was enough to make one's blood boil. Tsk. If I can get my hands on this young lady, dress her up like a martial saintess, and play with her. Thinking of this, the third young master's breathing quickened and his face reddened. Fortunately, he had already taken his seat and was no longer staring at Li Jun. Otherwise, it would have attracted the attention of Ting Qingshan and the others. The third young master of the Wang clan sat in his seat, his fists clenched and unclenched. The moment he saw Li Jun's face, his heart was itching to death. Mother***, getting a woman like this is much better than getting 100 ordinary beauties. No matter what, I must get it. The third young master made up his mind. But I have to be careful. The third young master looked at Hu Er, who was beside him. Hu Er's eyes flashed, and he signaled to the third young master with his eyes. He clearly sensed that the third young master had already fallen for that woman. It would be strange if he wasn't. With the third young master's temperament, it would be a great sin not to have such a woman in his bed. Hu Er was the third young master's personal attendant. He knew everything about the third young master like the back of his hand. Watch me. Hu Er stood up. Ting Qingshan and Li Jun were chatting and laughing with each other. They were in a good mood. Everyone, a voice suddenly sounded. Ting Qingshan and Li Jun looked up at the same time. Ting Qingshan frowned as he looked at the man in front of him. This man's temperament and gaze caused Ting Qingshan to naturally loathe him. Everyone, my young master wants to make friends. Why don't you have a drink with my young master? Oh, we'll take care of your meal. Hu Er was full of smiles as he pointed at Wang Hong. Ting Qingshan and Li Jun turned their heads to look. Wang Hong smiled and politely raised his glass to show his respect. We still have things to do after eating. Li Jun said to Hu Er, we don't have time to accompany your young master. What do you want to do? Just say it. We'll help you. Hu Er smiled and said, our young master is very willing to make friends. No matter what, you have to give face to our young master. At this moment, most of the other customers on the second floor understood when they saw Wang Hong. This third young master of the Wang clan was going to cause trouble again. However, none of these customers dared to speak. The Wang clan was definitely an overlord in Nanshan City. In Nanshan City, there were only 2 clans that could compare to the Wang clan. What, you're not giving? Hu said with dissatisfaction. Scram! Ting Qingshan's face darkened and a cold light flashed in his eyes. Hu immediately rolled his eyes and became fierce and cold. He sneered a few times and said, I didn't expect that in Nanshan City there would be someone who dares to tell my Wang clan to scram. Kid, let's go to the side and talk. As he spoke, Hu stretched out his skinny arm that had green veins popping out and grabbed towards Ting Qingshan. Xiao! A streak of azure light instantly shot out from Hu's sleeve and darted towards Ting Qingshan. It was a small azure snake that was 1 foot long and as thick as a finger. There was even a golden line on the back of this small azure snake. This poisonous snake was the famous 5 steps golden striped snake in Duanmu continent. Once poisoned, the poison would take effect within 5 steps, and the person would die. Hu had used this move to kill many people. Ting Qingshan opened his mouth and spat out a breath of air like a sharp arrow. Xiao! With Ting Qingshan's powerful physical strength, the breath he spat out was much more powerful than the sharp arrows shot by ordinary soldiers. The sword of Qi directly shot the poisonous snake into 2. At the same time, it also pierced through Hu's shoulder. With a crisp sound, Hu's shoulder was badly mutilated, and a small hole appeared. The bloody hole went straight through his back and went through both sides. Ah! Hu couldn't help but scream in pain, and his face turned pale. Roar! Suddenly, there was a deep and furious roar. Xiongshou, the teenager Ting Shou, who had been sitting at the side, saw that Hu dared to injure his teacher. He immediately struck out with his claw. Oh no! Hu was obviously an expert. The sword of Qi that Ting Qingshan spat out caught Hu unprepared. Secondly, the two of them were too close to each other, and Hu couldn't react at all. However, Hu had the time to block Ting Shou's claw. Bang! Hu barely managed to block the attack with his right hand, but Ting Shou's claw was too powerful. Moreover, it also had the strength of a claw. Poochie! A piece of flesh on Hu's right arm was torn off. Hu was smashed into the wall at the side, and blood spurted out of his mouth. The expression of the 3rd young master, who was watching from the side, darkened. How dare you injure someone in the city? An angry roar sounded. The 3rd young master of the Wang clan walked over with 3 other servants. He stared at Ting Qingshan with an ugly expression. I was kind enough to invite you to drink a few cups of wine and become friends. But you actually injured my subordinate and struck such a vicious blow. One of the servants behind the 3rd young master of the Wang clan said coldly, Fighting is not allowed in the city. Come, follow us. The current Nanshan city was basically under the joint management of the 3 major clans. The so-called law was basically set by the 3 major clans. I don't care what bullshit 3rd young master you are. Ting Qingshan sat on his seat with an ugly expression. He glanced coldly at the 3rd young master and said, Don't disturb me while I'm eating. If you continue to talk nonsense, on this day next year, let your family prepare to burn joss paper for you. Scram! Ting Qingshan shouted coldly. Chapter 345. Today was already December 30th. There was only one more day before the year 2009 would be over. In the first half of 2009, Tomato finished writing Coiling Dragon. To be precise, he finished writing the finale in the wee hours of June 12th. Coiling Dragon was a little disappointing, but overall it had achieved Tomato's goal. From the second half of the year, on July 28, the story of the 9 Cauldrons was presented to everyone. The story of the 9 Cauldrons was the book that Tomato wanted to write the most. In this book, Tomato was looking for a breakthrough. Over the past 5 months he had written more than 1,000,000 words in the 9 Cauldrons story, an average of more than 200,000 words per month. Actually, Tomato wanted to write this book more slowly. However, there were times when one had no choice but to erupt in online writing. Although the Nine Cauldrons Chronicles had its regrets, it was still a pity. However, some of the things that Tomato wanted to write were written down. When the finale of Chronicles of the Nine Cauldrons came out, Tomato would write a post about the concept of Chronicles of the Nine Cauldrons from a long time ago. Everyone would understand why Tomato valued the story of Nine Cauldrons so much. Ever since Story of the Nine Cauldrons was released, its popularity has been pretty good, but it's not as good as Coiling Dragon, I admit. Of course, Tomato was very grateful to the brothers who had always supported him. It was all thanks to everyone that the 24-hour subscription for Story of the Nine Cauldrons reached nearly 14,000, and the highest subscription reached 30,000. Tomato was very satisfied with the result, and he was even more grateful to everyone. After all, when the Story of the Nine Cauldrons was at its lowest point, there were still many brothers who silently supported Tomato. Actually, Tomato was very resentful towards the book review section. To be precise, they were resentful towards Chidian's book review section. Before the revision, it was possible to see a few comments and comments on the homepage of the book. At that time, everyone spoke up enthusiastically. But now he had to scroll down to the end of the page to see the comment box. This also caused the activity of the book reviews and comments section to plummet. Tomato loved interacting with his readers. Every day after he finished writing, he would go to the book review and comment section to read everyone's comment. I hope that when everyone has the time, they can also go to the book review and comment section and chat. Oh, about the debt. Firstly, Tomato said that he would have to pay after 7:30 and 9:30. As for how many seconds it took, there was no need to think about it. Therefore, a few seconds at 7:30 should still be within the time frame. If it was 7:31, he would have to make up for it. Tomato took 3 days off on the 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. Before applying for leave, Tomato already owed everyone 3 chapters. After taking 3 days off, he owed another 6 chapters. A total of 9 chapters. On the 25th, the 26th, and the 27th, he wrote 3 chapters in 3 consecutive days. A total of 3 chapters were added. On the 29th, he was late in updating 2 chapters in a row, so he was 2 chapters late. 3 chapters were updated today, and 1 was added today. All in all, Tomato still owed everyone 7 chapters. Tomato had nothing to say, these 7 chapters were definitely still there. Of course, give Tomato some time. Tomato would work hard and put his heart into it. He also hoped that the brothers who supported Tomato would continue to support Tomato. Monthly votes. Recommendation votes. The comments in the book review section were all in support of Tomato. Of course, Chidian was organizing year-end reviews now, and Tomato did not want everyone to vote for it. Because if you cast that vote, first of all, you will have to spend money. Secondly, I won't get a share of the money. So, there was no need to vote. Regular consumption generates monthly tickets. There were recommendation tickets every day. Everyone, don't waste it. Let's support Tomato. The year 2009 was about to end, and 2010 would soon arrive. Tomato would continue to work hard. I also hope that everyone will always support Tomato. 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. Tomatoes will take a long time to write. Chapter 346. On the first floor of Rising Sun Restaurant. Head shopkeeper. Head shopkeeper. One of the waitresses in the restaurant hurriedly ran over with an anxious look on her face. Something bad has happened upstairs. The third young master of the Wang family is fighting with a guest at another table. Before he could finish, the chubby manager interrupted him with a smile. We don't care about third young master Wang's business. In Nanshan City, everyone knew that the most useless person among the younger generation of the 3 major clans was the third young master of the Wang clan. No matter what, he was still the third young master of the Wang clan. For the sake of their own reputation, The Wang clan would not allow their young master to suffer. Therefore, when the third young master of the Wang clan bullied someone, the people of the Rising Sun restaurant would pretend that they did not see it. No. The waitress shook her head. This time, it wasn't third young master who bullied others. It was his men who were injured. The situation is very bad. What? The head shopkeeper was shocked and could no longer care about anything else. His fat body ran very fast and quickly rushed to the stairs. With a series of hurried footsteps, the head shopkeeper arrived at the second floor of the restaurant. Upon reaching the second floor, the head manager sucked in a breath of cold air. Ting Shou's eyes were faintly red, and he was holding a piece of flesh in his left hand. He stood there like a ferocious beast that wanted to devour humans. The head manager was so frightened by Ting Shou that his heart trembled, and he hastily looked to the side. The personal attendant of the third young master of the Wang clan, was curled up on the ground like a dead dog. There was a large pool of blood on the ground, and his body was also stained with blood. This is going to get out of hand. This is going to be troublesome. The head shopkeeper felt bitter in his heart. Third young master! The head shopkeeper shouted. The third young master of the Wang clan, who was used to being domineering in the past, was now flushed with anger. His hands were trembling slightly. He, the third young master of the Wang family, was looked down upon by his father. Therefore, when they were outside, the third young master of the Wang family valued his reputation even more. With his identity as the third young master of the Wang clan, who dared to disrespect him? Today, the table of people in front of him really made him angry. However, he had also sensed his opponent's terrifying strength. It didn't matter if it was the beast-like youth who was grabbing a piece of flesh. He was still sitting there like an iceberg, cold and indifferent man. None of them were to be trifled with. Scram! The other party's angry roar still echoed in his ears. The third young master of the Wang clan wanted to fly into a rage. But he did not dare to get angry. He was worried that the other party would really kill him. Third young master! The head shopkeeper shouted again. Shopkeeper! The third young master of the Wang clan glared at him angrily and shouted, "What's going on? My people came here to eat and drink. But now, my people are vomiting blood and seriously injured. How does your Rising Sun restaurant do business?" He was filled with anger, but he didn't dare to vent it on the strange and barbaric Ting Qingshan and the others. He vented his anger on the poor shopkeeper. Third young master. To be able to reach his current position, this head shopkeeper must have suffered a lot of humiliation. How could he care about this little scolding from third young master Wang? He smiled amiably and said, "Third young master, please don't be angry. No matter what, the most important thing right now is to save people. Someone, hurry up and carry the injured to the nearest medicine shop." The medicine shop sold medicine, but it also had a doctor. Yes. 2 men from the restaurant had already come up and immediately carried the injured How are we going to settle this? Their people injured my people. Doesn't the Rising Sun Trading Company have an explanation? Third young master of the Wang clan said coldly. At the same time, he glanced at Ting Qingshan and Ting Shou. Ting Shou was still grabbing that piece of minced meat and staring fiercely at him. This made third young master of the Wang clan fearful. At this moment, third young master of the Wang clan didn't bring many people with him, so he didn't dare to fight with Ting Qingshan and the others. He only dared to ask the Rising Sun Trading Company to intervene. Third young master of the Wang clan was very clear. Although the Rising Sun Trading Company didn't compete for hegemony, the forces they possessed were very shocking. Third young master. The head shopkeeper was slightly angry, but he still had a smile on his face. "Please sit over there. No hurry. I'll just stand there and watch how you settle this." Third young master of the Wang clan stood at the side and glanced at Ting Qingshan and the others. The Wang clan and the Rising Sun Trading Company. The two of them represented two terrifying forces. Even a Golden Dan innate expert would have to think twice before going against these two forces. Third young master of the Wang clan didn't think that the table of people before him that he hated was, of course, except for the beautiful young lady. He didn't think that the people at this table could fight against these two forces. Ting Qingshan's face darkened. Li Jun, who was at the side, also scolded coldly. Third young master of the Wang clan, we are eating here. What does it have to do with you? You are jumping up and down like a monkey. It's really annoying. Li Jun was a high and mighty person on the God of Heaven mountain in the Great Prairie. She was also very angry with third young master of the Wang clan's behavior. You! Third young master of the Wang clan's facial expression changed drastically. Bitter. The head shopkeeper felt bitter in his heart. What's going on downstairs? It's so noisy. A dissatisfied shout sounded. 3 tall men walked down the stairs in succession. Each of them had sharp gazes and a murderous aura. They were definitely powerful experts who cultivated on the edge of life and death all year round. Third young master. Suddenly, the 3 of them were shocked. The soundproofing of the private room upstairs was pretty good. They only felt that it was too noisy downstairs and didn't know that third young master had arrived. Lord, it's third young master. Someone immediately reported upstairs. An indifferent but dignified voice sounded. Third young master of the Wang clan's expression changed slightly as he looked up. A person walked down the stairs leading to the 3rd floor. It was a middle-aged man with a pale face and no facial hair. He was dressed in a luxurious black fur coat. Her gaze, which was as cold as a knife, swept across the crowd and finally landed on the shopkeeper. Head shopkeeper, what happened here? The head of the Wang clan asked condescendingly. The head shopkeeper immediately bowed. The head of the Wang clan was equivalent to the local emperor of a small country. He wasn't someone a hedonistic third young master could compare to. It's like this. Third young master brought his servants to eat in the restaurant and had some conflict with the customers at this table. So, they started fighting, the head shopkeeper said concisely as he pointed at Ting Qingshan's table. Currently, the entire 2nd floor of the restaurant was silent. The other customers who were eating did not even dare to breathe heavily and speak. After all, the person standing on the stairs was the head of the Wang clan. He was someone who could kill them with a single sentence. Father, who was beaten to death by them. We just sent him to the medicine shop. Third young master of the Wang clan complained anxiously. Father, I really didn't cause any trouble this time. I only came to invite them to drink and make friends. I didn't expect them to be so ruthless. They even said that they wanted to kill me. Stand aside, the head of the Wang clan said indifferently. Yes. Third young master of the Wang clan didn't say anything else. However, he was very confident in his heart. This time, he really didn't do anything overboard. The only thing that he was in the wrong was that Hu used a poisonous snake to sneak attack first. However, that was Hu's decision to sneak attack. He, third young master of the Wang clan, wasn't in the wrong. In front of so many people, what kind of status did the Wang clan have? No matter what, the head of the Wang clan had to protect the Wang clan's reputation. Were you the ones who injured the members of my Wang clan? The head of the Wang clan said indifferently and condescendingly. However, Ting Qingshan's table continued to eat. Little Ping, come, this fish is not bad. Come, try it. Ting Qingshan smiled and put a fish into Little Ping's bowl. The head of the Wang clan's expression changed slightly. Ting Qingshan's table actually ignored him. The people on the 1st floor of the 2nd floor of the restaurant didn't dare to make a sound. All of them watched the situation carefully. They all knew that the head of the Wang clan was definitely angry. At the same time, they secretly thought that Ting Qingshan's table was really too rash and insensible. They actually dared to offend the Wang clan. Everyone, The voice of the head of the Wang clan suddenly became deep. The deep voice resounded through the second floor, as if thunder exploded beside their ears. Many customers hurriedly covered their ears as their faces turned pale. When Ting Qingshan saw Little Ping's pale face, he couldn't help but frown. He turned his head to look at the head of the Wang clan, who was standing on the stairs, and said indifferently, "Head of the Wang clan, you can go and ask who is right and who is wrong in this matter. Don't make a fuss here without asking whether the matter is right or wrong. If you want to fight, I'll fight with you. If you want to use force, I'll accompany you." Ting Qingshan's voice was calm, but the strong confidence in his words caused the heart of the head of the Wang clan to tremble. Knowing his identity, yet he still dared to act like this. Something's wrong. The head of the Wang clan frowned. "Brother Wang, what's going on?" A familiar voice came from above. A tall and sturdy man wearing an azure leather coat walked down the stairs with an enormous machete on his back. His lightning-like gaze swept downstairs. When he saw Ting Qingshan's table, he was startled. "Brother Fu." The head of the Wang clan hastily turned his head. "Mr. Ting." The sturdy man with the enormous machete on his back rushed down the stairs in a few steps. He cupped his hands in surprise and said, "I didn't expect to see Mr. Ting here today after we parted yesterday. If I knew that Mr. was eating here, I, Fu Dao, would have come down a long time ago. Mr., please come upstairs. Let's have a chat. What do you think?" To a super expert like Fu Dao, who was obsessed with martial arts. In Fu Dao's eyes, Ting Qingshan, who defeated him with one move, was a super expert who lived in seclusion. To be able to defeat him with one move. This kind of strength, in Fu Dao's eyes. Perhaps only experts of the martial immortal realm. No one could be his opponent. Fu Dao even believed that Ting Qingshan was a martial immortal realm expert. After all, Fu Dao had never seen such a terrifying Golden Dan innate expert. As for martial immortals, emptiness realm, if they didn't control the power of the heavens and the earth, it would be very difficult to judge whether the person in front of them was a martial immortal realm expert or not. No matter what, it didn't matter if Ting Qingshan was invincible below the martial immortal realm, or if he was a martial immortal realm expert. He, Fu Dao, had to treat him with respect. Receiving pointers from such an expert would be very beneficial to Fu Dao. "Oh, it's Fu Dao." Ting Qingshan lifted his head and glanced at him with a smile. "What a coincidence, Mr. Fu Dao's attitude was very humble. He immediately turned his head and looked at the patriarch of the Wang clan in surprise. "Brother Wang, what's going on between you and Mr. Ting?" The patriarch of the Wang clan felt his vision blur. "Mr. Ting?" Even the world-renowned Thunderblade martial saint, Fu Dao, respectfully addressed Ting Qingshan as Mr. Ting. "What kind of person did my unfilial son offend?" The patriarch of the Wang clan felt his heart twitch. Chapter 347. However, the leader of the Wang clan was a hero, and he would not lose his composure. "Brother Fu, you asked me what happened. I still don't know the whole story." The patriarch of the Wang clan shook his head and smiled as he walked down the stairs. "Just now, the innkeeper said that Mr. Ting and his table fought with my unfilial son. Moreover, my unfilial son's people are almost beaten to death." The patriarch of the Wang clan stared at Ting Qingshan and said, "However, this Mr. Ting is a good friend of Brother Fu. I don't think he would cause trouble with a junior. It must be that unfilial son of mine who went overboard." Unfilial son. The head of the Wang family turned around and his face darkened. "Father." Third young Master Wang's body trembled. However, he was cursing in his heart. Just what kind of bad luck was this? He had actually provoked a person that even the Thunderblade martial saint, Fu Dao, had to address as Mr. Ting. "You unfilial son, you caused trouble last time, and you'll do it again this time. You always make me worry." The patriarch of the Wang clan scolded, Mr. Ting is your senior. This matter must have been caused by you, my unfilial son. I'm not going to talk to you now. I'll deal with you when we get home. The three of you, bring third young master back now. With a reprimand, the three attendants of the third young master immediately protected the third young master and left the restaurant in a sorry state. The third young master didn't even dare to look at Ting Qingshan's table. The fire of lust from before was completely gone. Mr. Ting, that unfilial son of mine is always disobedient and often causes trouble. If you stay in Nanshan City for a long time, you'll know. I hope Sir won't argue with him. The patriarch of the Wang clan walked to Fu Dao's side. Fu Dao chuckled and said, Mr. Ting, ask Brother Wang to punish that brat. This brat isn't worth Sir's anger. In Fu Dao's eyes, what was Ting Qingshan's status? As for the third young master of the Wang clan, he was just a hedonistic son of a rich family. Messing with him would be degrading his status. Ting Qingshan and Li Jun looked at each other and smiled. Of course, Ting Qingshan did not care about the third young master of the Wang family. Even the head of the Wang family had lowered his head to him. There was no need to chase after him relentlessly. After all, the Wang family was also a local tyrant. They really began to fight. Ting Qingshan was not afraid. But there would be a lot of trouble. Let's just forget about it. Ting Qingshan took a sip of wine and smiled. You two do as you please. I won't be accompanying the two of you. Mr. Ting. The patriarch of the Wang clan said hurriedly, this matter was my unfilial son's fault. I'll prepare a small cup of wine up there as an apology. Mister, you must give me some face. On Duanmu continent, all the great clans contended for hegemony. What was the most important thing to conquer the world? Talent. Martial Saint realm experts were the most important talents. The importance of a martial saint was no less than an army. How could the Wang clan's clan head let go of this opportunity to build a relationship with Ting Qingshan? Brother Ting, come and have a drink if you have nothing to do, Fu Dao said with a smile. Ting Qingshan's heart thumped. Nothing happened? He had something to do, so he would go to the godly Axe Mountain later. However, the engravings of the 36 splitting mountain forms in the godly Axe Mountain were left behind by Emperor Yu. They definitely wouldn't be open to ordinary people and let ordinary people view them. Ting Qingshan pondered, with Fu Dao's and the Wang clan's clan head's status, they would definitely know the details of the godly Axe Mountain and the engravings of the 36 splitting mountain forms. Why don't I ask them? Without the help of others, he would probably be confused when he went to the godly Axe Mountain. All right then, Ting Qingshan said with a smile. The patriarch of the Wang clan was overjoyed. Ha ha, Mr. Ting, please. Little June, follow me upstairs. Ting Qingshan looked at Li Jun. Li Jun was surprised why Ting Qingshan agreed. However, there were many people around, so she didn't ask. She then smiled and walked up to the third floor with Ting Qingshan. Old Wang, you guys stay here first. I'll come down later. Ting Qingshan went upstairs and instructed. Yes, boss. Old Wang hastily responded. Ting Shou, on the other hand, sat obediently at the table. After becoming Ting Qingshan's disciple, Ting Shou was very obedient. On the second floor of the restaurant, the Wang clan's clan head, Ting Qingshan, Fu Dao, and the others went upstairs. The guests began to discuss excitedly. Fu Dao, could that Fu Dao be the legendary Thunder Saber Saint, Fu Dao? For him to call Mr. Who is Mr. Ting? Everyone was extremely excited. The manager of the Rising Sun restaurant revealed a surprised expression. He looked up at the staircase leading to the third floor and thought to himself, Fu Dao is a Golden Dan innate expert. He is an old friend of the Rising Sun Trading Company. Who is this Mr. Ting? The manager immediately realized the importance of this matter. I must inform the elder immediately. The manager didn't dare to stay any longer and hastily went downstairs. On the third floor of the Rising Sun restaurant, The private room was about 5 to 6 zhang wide. A round black stone table was placed in the middle of the room. The stone table was extremely smooth, and many plates of delicacies were placed on it. Take these away and change to another table. The Wang clan's clan head hastily ordered. Yes. 2 waitresses of the restaurant quickly removed the plates. Mr. Ting and this lady, please sit, the Wang clan's clan head said with a smile. Immediately, Ting Qingshan, Li Jun, Fu Dao, and the Wang clan's clan head sat around the huge round table. The wine utensils and wine pots were all replaced with new ones. There were also waitresses who poured wine for them. Mr. Ting, it was my unfilial son who offended Mr. This cup of wine is my apology. The Wang clan's clan head stood up and said with a smile. Ting Qingshan smiled faintly and said, Patriarch, please sit down. Let's just have a casual chat. There's no need for you to toast me and I will toast you. I hate these clichés the most. The Wang clan's clan head froze. Haha, great. The Wang clan's clan head put down his wine cup. Mr. Ting is not that kind of cliché, Fu Dao said with a smile. He immediately realized something and said, Haha, I haven't introduced him to you yet. Brother Wang. Fu Dao stood up and said, This is Mr. Ting. His name is Ting Qingshan. I met him by chance on my way to Nanshan City. It is my luck to meet Brother Ting. Luck? The Wang clan's clan head asked with a smile. With Brother Fu's personality, you must have fought with Mr. Ting. Fu Dao shook his head and said with a smile, I challenged Mr. Ting, but I won by a fluke. Ting Qingshan interrupted. Fu Dao froze and glanced at Ting Qingshan. He immediately understood. This Mr. Ting hasn't been famous in this world for so many years. It seems like he doesn't like to be famous. He won by a single move. If this news were to spread, I'm afraid it would go against his wishes. Fu Dao completely understood Ting Qingshan's thoughts. Won by a fluke? The Wang clan's clan head muttered to himself. Fu Dao called Ting Qingshan Mr. He is very strong, stronger than Fu Dao. Mr. Ting, this is the Wang clan's clan head, Wang Meng. In Nanshan City, only the Wang clan, the other 2 great clans, and the Rising Sun Trading Company had a say. Mr. Ting, Brother Wang is not only the Wang clan's clan head, but he is also an innate martial saint, Fu Dao said with a smile. Ting Qingshan glanced at Wang Meng in surprise. This Wang clan's clan head is an innate martial expert? Simultaneously, Ting Qingshan nodded with a smile. Wang Meng, Wang clan head. Haha. Wang Meng smiled and said, It is my luck to get to know Mr. Ting. To be honest, my unfilial son made a great contribution. If it wasn't for my unfilial son, I probably wouldn't have the chance to know Mr. Ting. Haha. Fu Dao laughed when he heard this. Big Brother Ting. Li Jun glanced at Ting Qingshan and asked softly, When are we leaving? Wang Meng asked in surprise, Mr. Ting, is there anything else? Prepare to go to the Godly Axe Mountain. Ting Qingshan asked at the same time, Wang Meng, how much do the 2 of you know about the Godly Axe Mountain? I know a little, Fu Dao said in surprise. What would you like to ask, sir? Do you know that there are 36 sculptures on the Godly Axe Mountain? Ting Qingshan asked. Fu Dao and Wang Meng looked at each other with astonishment in their eyes. Mr. Ting, Fu Dao said with a frown. Back then, Empyrean god Godly Hatchet created the Godly Hatchet Mountain. However, the Godly Hatchet Mountain was passed down generation after generation. The forces of the Godly Axe Mountain had completely collapsed. The Godly Axe Mountain had also been wiped out by the surrounding forces. As for the 36 carvings left behind by the Godly Axe deity, Yu the Great, according to the legends, they have long been taken away by the robbers. Ting Qingshan's expression changed. Li Jun also looked at Ting Qingshan in astonishment. They did not know anything about the 36 carvings of the Godly Axe Mountain. Ever since they came to Duanmu continent, Only little Ping and old Wang knew the most about Duanmu continent. However, little Ping was just a child. How much could she know? As for old Wang, Ting Qingshan had never talked to him about the carvings of the 36 splitting mountain forms. Robbed, Ting Qingshan said with a frown. It has been robbed for thousands of years. Fu Dao shook his head and said, since the godly axe mountain declined, it was naturally robbed by other forces. Those 36 carvings are very precious. They are the location of the entire forbidden area of the godly axe mountain. Back then, it was said that half of the mountain wall was directly knocked down by those forces and taken away by force. Ting Qingshan felt helpless. He had rushed to Nanshan City, but he did not expect that his trip would be in vain. Fu Dao, do you know where the 36 carvings are now? Ting Qingshan asked. Fu Dao said, it is said that each of the 36 carvings is a move using an axe and the word Dao. These 36 carvings form the highest technique of the godly axe mountain, the 36 splitting mountain forms. It is also the origin of the various techniques using the axe in Duanmu continent. Ting Qingshan nodded inwardly. After coming to Duanmu continent for a few days, Ting Qingshan also discovered that many of the wanderers on the road used axes. Many people say that these 36 carvings are extraordinary. All the great clans are fighting over them. Fu Dao said emotionally, when the Thunder Blade deity, Duanmu Yu, unified the world, he also collected these 36 carvings. However, at that time, the Thunder Blade deity only collected over 20 carvings and didn't find the rest. After Duanmu Yu passed away, Duanmu continent fell apart and fell into chaos again. For the next 3,000 years, the continent was always in chaos. The great clans fought, some rose and some fell. As for the 36 carvings, I only heard some news about them occasionally. Even if a clan obtained one of the carvings, they would probably hide it. So many years have passed. Who knows where the 36 carvings are now? Fu Dao shook his head and said with a smile, even the Thunder Blade deity from 3,000 years ago didn't collect all of them. It's almost impossible to find him now. P.S. Update completed. Today was the 31st of December, the last day of 2009. Tomorrow will be the year of 2010. Tomato wishes everyone in the year of the tiger to be full of vigor, achieve all your dreams and goals, and earn so much money. Haha, brothers, Happy New Year! Oh, there are still 2.5 hours before the new year begins. Don't tell me everyone's monthly votes will be carried over to next year. Then it will expire, so vote for Tomato. Chapter 348. 36 Sculptures. Ting Qingshan pondered. The Tao contained within must be getting more and more profound until it reaches its peak. However, for me, only the first few of the 36 carvings are useful. Ting Qingshan had seen the celestial jade annulus on the bright moon island, so he certainly knew this point. As for the poetic sword god Li Taibai's green lotus sword song, he could only comprehend the beginning part. Similarly, the first few carvings of the 36 splitting mountain forms were the most useful to him. Fu Dao? Ting Qingshan asked. Sir, Fu Dao replied respectfully. In front of Ting Qingshan, he was like a disciple who respected his teacher. The 36 splitting mountain forms has a total of 36 inscriptions. Do you have any information about the first 5 or 6 inscriptions? Ting Qingshan asked with a glimmer of hope in his heart. It's fine if I have information about one of them. Fu Dao smiled helplessly and shook his head. Mister, it's not that I don't want to tell you. It was because these 36 carvings had been lost for thousands of years, and no one knew where they were. Even if a certain clan were to obtain this sculpture, they would most likely treasure it. It will not be announced to the public. Just like Brother Wang. Brother Wang, your Wang clan is also a great clan with a great reputation in Duanmu continent. You should have a carving in your clan, right? The patriarch of the Wang clan, Wang Meng, chuckled and said, Brother Fu Dao, don't make fun of me. Our Wang clan has only risen for a few hundred years, so where can we find a stone sculpture? That's right. About 100 years ago, the Rising Sun Trading Company held an auction, and a sculpture of the 36 splitting mountain forms was sold. They'll sell it? Ting Qingshan was shocked. Someone is willing to sell it? Haha, maybe someone was lucky enough to obtain the sculpture of the 36 splitting mountain forms. Although the carvings left behind by the divine axe deity were precious, they were still insignificant. However, it was useless for ordinary people to obtain it. You might as well exchange it for some money. Wang Meng said with a smile. That time, a single sculpture was sold for a sky-high price of 360,000 gold taels. Ting Qingshan was a little surprised. A painting for 360,000 gold taels? The amount of gold he had now, including the other 2 chests hidden under the coast, amounted to 32,000 caddies, or 320,000 taels of gold. He couldn't even afford a single sculpture. However, this kind of thing can only be found by luck. Anyone with a bit of ability would not be willing to sell the stone inscriptions left by the godly axe deity, You the Great, Wang Meng said. Ting Qingshan nodded. Big brother Ting Qingshan. Li Jun was also anxious for Ting Qingshan. Where are we going now? Ting Qingshan turned to look at Li Jun and smiled. Let's go to the godly axe mountain first. We'll make a decision after that. Wasn't it just 36 carvings? Currently, his earth element fist and water element fist had been cultivated to the 6th style. Ting Qingshan could even clearly feel the power of the heavens and earth of the earth and water element. He could barely use some of them. Even if I don't have the 36 inscriptions, with my current cultivation level, it won't be difficult for me to reach the emptiness realm within 10 years. Ting Qingshan was full of confidence. The carvings of Emperor Yu's 36 splitting mountain forms are only for me to use as a reference. Ting Qingshan made up his mind. I will cultivate wholeheartedly and strive to reach the emptiness realm as soon as possible. I can go back to the land of the 9 prefectures. In the depths of Ting Qingshan's heart, he had always been concerned about the 9 states. His parents were there, and his little sister was there, his Ting clan clansmen were there. Once he succeeded, he would definitely return home. Brother Fu Dao, I still have some matters to attend to, so I won't be accompanying the 2 of you any longer. Ting Qingshan stood up and shook his head with a smile. However, the godly axe mountain. I have never been there before. This time I have to take a good look. Wang Meng and Fu Dao hurriedly stood up and sent Ting Qingshan and Li Xiandao off. Little June, let's go. Ting Qingshan immediately brought little June back to the 2nd floor of the restaurant. He led the others to the godly axe mountain in a carriage. In a quiet house, a skinny old man with long silver hair draped over his shoulders was lying on a chair, bathing in the sun. The manager of the Rising Sun restaurant was here. 6th Elder. The manager saluted respectfully. The Rising Sun Trading Company was extremely powerful. The 9 elders held the highest positions in the trading company. The entire trading company was jointly managed by the 9 elders. The 9 elders were slowly promoted according to their seniority. Among them, the Great Elder had the greatest power, followed by the 2nd Elder and the 3rd Elder. As for the 4th Elder to the 9th Elder, their positions were equal. The Great Elder of the Rising Sun Trading Company was like the patriarch of a great clan. What's so urgent? The 6th Elder asked indifferently. 6th Elder, something big happened in my restaurant, the manager hastily said. What big matter? Tell me everything from the beginning to the end. The 6th Elder was still lying on the chair, his eyes half closed. The manager respectfully narrated the matter between Ting Qingshan and the 3rd young master of the Wang clan. At that time, the 3rd young master pushed the matter onto the Rising Sun restaurant. At this moment, the patriarch of the Wang clan, Wang Meng, came down from the third floor. No matter what, he had to consider the reputation of the Wang clan. Therefore, he used his power to oppress others. But who would have thought that surnamed Ting didn't even care? At this crucial moment, the Thunder Blade Martial Saint, Fu Dao, also came down from the third floor. Of course, he respectfully called that surnamed Ting Mr. Ting. The sixth elder opened his eyes and sat up straight. What did you say? The manager hastily nodded and said, Fu Dao called that surnamed Ting Mr. Ting. And I was there at the time, so I saw it clearly. Fu Dao's attitude was very respectful. It was like a disciple meeting his teacher. Fu Dao is a martial arts fanatic. To be able to make him so respectful, I think, it can only be an expert stronger than him. The sixth elder narrowed his eyes and pondered. Respect, respect. It doesn't mean that surnamed Ting is stronger than Fu Dao. The sixth elder said slowly. Some people with schemes or special abilities are respected by others and are also called Mr. This surnamed Ting might have some kind of unique skill that Fu Dao admires greatly. For example, this surnamed Ting might be a doctor with amazing medical skills. If he treated Fu Dao's injuries, it wouldn't be strange for Fu Dao to be grateful and respectful to him. After the sixth elder finished speaking, he shook his head and said, Of course, this surnamed Ting might really be very strong. He possesses peerless martial strength. If he's strong enough to make the Thunder Blade Martial Saint, Fu Dao, respectfully call him Mr., then his strength would be terrifying. The sixth elder narrowed his eyes and said slowly, Bang! Bang! A series of knocking sounds rang out. Uncle, it's me. An aged voice rang out. Go open the door. The sixth elder ordered. The manager hastily ran over to open the door. An old man wearing a felt hat and a thick leather coat walked in with a smile. He glanced at the manager and said, Yi Feng, you're here too? Steward Mu, you've returned after suppressing the goods? The manager flattered. The old man smiled and nodded. Over 5,000 slaves have already arrived at the military camp outside the city. The army has all returned to rest. This old man was Steward Mu Wan, who had led the army to escort the slaves back. At that time, when the ferocious beast teenager, Ting Qingshan, had killed people, Ting Qingshan had even conversed with Mu Wan. The sixth elder responded with a faint smile, but his brows were still furrowed. Uncle, what happened? Mu Wan could see that his uncle seemed to be vexed. Yi Feng, explain it to Mu Wan. The sixth elder instructed. Mu Wan looked curiously at the manager, and the manager hastily described. As he listened, Mu Wan's expression became strange. You said that person's surname is Ting? Mu Wan asked in surprise. Yes. The manager hastily nodded. Is his name Ting Qingshan? Mu Wan asked again. I don't know about this. I only heard Fu Dao call him Mr. Ting. The manager shook his head and said. Mu Wan hastily asked, then, was there a crazy-like, beast-like teenager by his side? Yes, there was one. The manager hastily nodded. He could clearly remember the terrifying teenager who was holding a piece of bloody flesh when he had just arrived at the second floor of the restaurant. Mu Wan, you know him? The sixth elder asked in surprise. Mu Wan hastily nodded. Uncle, I really do know this person. His name is Ting Qingshan. Yesterday evening, when the army was setting up camp, he had a small conflict with them. Uncle, I was with Fu Dao at that time. I asked Fu Dao, but he also said that he didn't know this Ting Qingshan. However, afterwards, Fu Dao hastily chased after Ting Qingshan and the others to challenge Ting Qingshan. I think that Fu Dao and Ting Qingshan must have fought that night. Moreover, Fu Dao lost wholeheartedly. That's why he respectfully called Ting Qingshan Mr. Mu Wan was very sure. After all, Mu Wan had been in contact with Ting Qingshan, so it was easy for him to guess the truth. TSK, I really didn't expect this. I only thought that Ting Qingshan was a martial saint. But I didn't expect him to be this strong. Mu Wan hastily shook his head in admiration. Phew! The sixth elder stood up with a solemn expression. Mu Wan, accompany me to see the second elder. A super expert whose strength surpasses Fu Dao's, and Fu Dao calls him Mr., is enough to rank in the top 5 in the entire Duanmu continent. I'm afraid not many people know about this. We must hurry and get this Ting Qingshan to our side. Yes. Mu Wan hastily nodded. The Rising Sun Trading Company had a long history, longer than many great clans. It was because of some internal systems. Even Fu Dao had a close relationship with the Rising Sun Trading Company. Any expert that could be dragged onto the Rising Sun Trading Company's chariot would be dragged onto it. Of course, the Rising Sun Trading Company also treated the super experts very well. They knew what these powerful experts wanted. They wouldn't restrain these experts. This was because they were different from clans. Clans wanted hegemony, but the Rising Sun Trading Company's business covered the entire Duanmu continent. Northwest of Nanshan City, at the foot of a towering mountain, a four-wheeled carriage pulled by 2 Scarlet Wind Warhouse was parked there. Little June, you guys stay at the foot of the mountain. I'll go to the Godly Axe Mountain, Ting Qingshan said with a faint smile. In the sky, the whole Gale Eagle and Blue Luan were flying. Immediately, Ting Qingshan transformed into a wisp of green smoke. He flickered on the Godly Axe Mountain and entered the depths of the mountain. On the first day of the new year, the Qigyan held an activity from the 1st to the 7th. 1 monthly vote counted as 2 monthly votes. Tomato didn't get any monthly votes and fell to the 10th place on the monthly votes list. How embarrassing! Everyone, please support Tomato if you have monthly vote. This is too shameful. Moreover, it was the beginning of the month. Usually there were guaranteed monthly vote. Moreover, now that 1 vote counted as 2, Tomato urgently needed everyone's monthly vote support. Click on the line Recommended Monthly Vote Support author below to vote. I'll leave it to everyone. Chapter 349. Jia. 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 Dozens of warhouse dashed on the public road outside of Southern Mountain City, kicking up a lot of dust along the way. There were 3 people in the lead. One of them was a fat, bald old man with a big belly, the second elder. The other was a thin, silver-haired old man, the 6th elder. The last one was a cold-looking middle-aged man who carried a large machete on his back. Steward Mu, who was riding on the warhouse, looked from afar and hastily shouted, "Second elder, 6th elder, the carriage in front should be Ting Qingshan's carriage." The second elder immediately raised his right hand high. The dozens of warhouse raised their front hooves in unison and stopped. "Big Sister June, those people are coming towards us," Little Ping, who was beside the carriage, hastily said. Li Jun was very calm as she watched the group of people walking on the official road. The coachman, Old Wang, was also watching cautiously. With a glance, he saw Steward Mu in the crowd and asked, "Lady June, isn't that old man the Steward Mu we met last night outside the city?" "Yes, it's him." Li Jun recognized him with a glance. "This is Mr. Ting's carriage, right?" Steward Mu, who was following beside the 2 elders and the grim middle-aged man, said with a smile. Suddenly, he was startled. He. Ting Shou stared at him, his eyes flashing with an ominous glint. Steward Mu was truly somewhat fearful of this savage youth. "We are from the Rising Sun Trading Company," Steward Mu said with a smile. The skinny silver-haired elder, the 6th elder, said, "I am the 6th elder of the Rising Sun Trading Company, and the one beside me is the 2nd elder of the Rising Sun Trading Company. May I know where Mr. Ting is? We are here to see Mr. Ting." Li Jun stared at the group of people before her and said, "Big Brother Ting is not here right now. He will be back soon." "Not here?" The sixth elder carefully looked around the carriage. If you want to see Big Brother Ting, please wait patiently, Li Jun said. Li Jun was vigilant towards the group of people before her. Of course, she wasn't afraid, because Blue Luan and the whole Gale Eagle were high up in the sky. As long as she screeched, the Blue Luan would swoop down. The people of the Rising Sun Trading Company could only wait quietly at the side for Ting Qingshan. The godly Axe Mountain was a mountain with a long history, but now it was overgrown with weeds and vines. It was deserted all year round, causing the mountain paths to disappear. There were trees and bushes everywhere. It was really difficult for an ordinary person to climb the entire mountain. Ting Qingshan walked on the mountain at a seemingly slow pace. In the blink of an eye, he had covered a distance of several dozen zhang. This is the Godly Axe Mountain. In the past, Emperor Yu lived in the Godly Axe Mountain. Emperor Yu unified the Northern Sea continent, unified the language, unified money, and also spread the cultivation method of inner strength. Ting Qingshan looked at this huge mountain. In a trance, he seemed to have seen more than 6,000 years ago, when the Northern Sea continent was still a vast and sparsely populated place. At that time, Emperor Yu descended from the sky, spreading civilization and the cultivation method of inner strength. It allowed the people of the Northern Sea continent to have the ability to resist natural disasters. The powerful inner strength allowed the people of the Northern Sea continent to continuously expand their territory. The population continued to increase until it became prosperous today. However, the Holy Land of the past was now so desolate. The Godly Axe Mountain has a special status. Although some parts of the mountain have been emptied and can be lived in, not many clans would dare to live in the Godly Axe Mountain. However, not many clans would dare to reside in the Godly Axe Mountain. Ting Qingshan sighed inwardly. The Godly Axe Mountain was the residence of the Godly Axe deity, Yu the Great. If a clan dared to live in it, that would be courting death. The other clans would probably besiege this clan. Nanshan City was different. Although Nanshan City had a special status, it was still a big city with a population of 5 million. Which clan wouldn't want to occupy it? As for the Godly Axe Mountain, it was just a barren mountain. Occupying it wouldn't bring any substantial benefit. Instead, it would bring a bunch of disadvantages. Forbidden Area. Ting Qingshan walked to the front of a mountain. On the mountain wall there were 2 blood-red characters. These 2 characters were different from the characters of the Northern Sea continent, but they were very similar to the characters of the 9 prefectures. Ting Qingshan recognized them at first glance. Could it be that this is the place with the 36 stone inscriptions? Ting Qingshan's figure blurred and disappeared into the cave. After walking around the forbidden area, Ting Qingshan saw that many of the wooden shelves had already decayed. Only the ground and the walls had many marks left by the practice of the axe art. Half of this wall has been pried off. Ting Qingshan looked at the mountain wall in front of him, which was several zhang long and 5 to 6 zhang tall. If my guess is correct, logically speaking, the 36 stone inscriptions should be on this stone wall. After walking through the entire forbidden area, Ting Qingshan felt that only this wall in front of him could be where the stone inscriptions used to be. What a pity! Ting Qingshan shook his head and left the forbidden area. He stood at the edge of the cliff and looked at the land. Emperor Yu, you asked me to come to the Northern Sea continent. You asked me to take care of your bloodline. I'm here. What attracted me here was your 36 splitting mountain forms. However, the 36 stone inscriptions are gone. The power of the Godly Axe Mountain, which belonged to your bloodline, collapsed a long time ago. There's no news about it anymore. If I find your descendants, Emperor Yu, I will take care of your descendants so that they can pass on their legacy. If I can't find them, there's nothing I can do. Ting Qingshan sighed inwardly. Even the powerful Emperor Yu, who stood at the peak of the human race. However, Emperor Yu couldn't control the matters of his descendants. The Emperor Yu's hall in the land of the 9 prefectures was fine. It had existed for a long time. However, the godly Axe Mountain had collapsed a long time ago. Descendants have their own happiness. Why do I need to care so much? Ting Qingshan turned his head and looked at the 2 words, forbidden area, on the mountain wall. He smiled and jumped down from the cliff. Phew! Phew! When Ting Qingshan landed in midair, he could still twist his body. The tip of his feet touched the mountain wall, and his speed immediately slowed down. From the high mountain, Ting Qingshan descended rapidly like a phantom. He only touched the mountain wall a few times before he reached the foot of the mountain. Ting Qingshan looked down at the dozens of war house beside the carriage. Phew! Ting Qingshan dove down like an eagle. He stepped on a tree branch with the tip of his feet and landed gracefully on the ground. So scary. How is this possible? The dozens of people of the Rising Sun Trading Company looked at Ting Qingshan in shock. Although they didn't see Ting Qingshan jump down the cliff, they noticed him as he fell. The first person to notice Ting Qingshan's jump was the cold-looking middle-aged man who carried a huge machete on his back. He jumped down a 1,000-zhang tall cliff just like that. The cold-looking middle-aged man was completely stunned. It's that simple? The others were also stunned. The 2nd elder and the 6th elder looked at each other and saw the shock in each other's eyes. Even a Golden Dan innate expert couldn't jump down a 1,000-zhang tall cliff. After all, the physical body of an innate expert wasn't strong. It was only the innate true origin that was strong. Once they jumped from a high place, their internal organs would be damaged and they would be finished. Little June, what are they here for? Ting Qingshan's voice came from the front. Big brother Ting, they said they are here for you. They want to talk to you. The 2nd elder and the 6th elder were slightly hesitant before. This was because they didn't see the battle between Fu Dao and Ting Qingshan. However, the scene of Ting Qingshan jumping down from the high mountain just now made the 2nd elder and the 6th elder no longer have any doubt. The expert who carried a huge machete on his back didn't dare to be arrogant. He looked at Ting Qingshan with a hint of respect. Are you here for me? Ting Qingshan walked over with a faint smile. Seeing Ting Qingshan walking over, the 2nd elder and the 6th elder hastily greeted him with a smile. Mr. Ting. The bald and fat elder, the 2nd elder, cupped his hands with a smile and said, I am the 2nd elder of the Rising Sun Trading Company, and the one beside me is the 6th elder. Ting Qingshan stared at the 2 in surprise and asked, May I know why the 2 of you are here to look for me? Let's talk over here. The 2nd elder smiled and led Ting Qingshan to a remote place. Ting Qingshan, the 2nd elder, and the 6th elder were together. What's the matter? Ting Qingshan asked straightforwardly. The 2nd elder cupped his hands with a smile and sighed emotionally. Mr. Ting possesses such peerless strength, but the Rising Sun Trading Company actually didn't know. Mr. is so talented, but you are willing to be ordinary. This old man really admires you. The 6th elder, who was at the side, also smiled and said, 2nd elder, with Mr. Ting's strength, he only needs to show a little bit of his strength, and his name will shake the world. Ting Qingshan listened at the side. Seeing that Ting Qingshan didn't answer, the 2nd elder said straightforwardly, Mr. Ting, the Rising Sun Trading Company invites Mr. to be our trading company's deacon. I don't know if Mr. is willing. Deacon? I have other matters to attend to. Ting Qingshan couldn't be bothered with this. Last time, the Fang clan also invited him, but Ting Qingshan didn't want to serve these clans and forces. Oh no. The 2nd elder hastily shook his head and said, Mr. is wrong. The deacons of the Rising Sun Trading Company are different from the deacons of the other clans. Those clans fight against each other. The deacons often need to go to war and serve them. As for the Rising Sun Trading Company, harmony brings wealth. Our business is spread all over the world, and there are guards of the Rising Sun Trading Company in each of the 36 major cities. As the Rising Sun Trading Company doesn't contend for hegemony in the world, there aren't many clans that would make the Rising Sun Trading Company their enemy. Therefore, the deacons of the Rising Sun Trading Company don't need to do anything. The second elder smiled and said, "For example, the Thunderblade Martial Saint, Fu Dao, travels the world and painstakingly cultivates the martial Dao. He has been the deacons of the Rising Sun Trading Company for over 10 years, but the trading company has never asked him to do anything." Ting Qingshan was slightly surprised when he heard this. The second elder continued, "Unless it's a life and death crisis, there's no need for a super expert like Mr. to act. As for the Rising Sun Trading Company, it has a history of several thousand years. The number of times we encounter a life and death crisis is very few. As the deacons of the Rising Sun Trading Company, Mr. can still do whatever he wants. Moreover, Mr. can obtain the information he wants through our restaurants that are spread all over the continent. If you encounter any problems, the Rising Sun Trading Company can also help Mr. solve them. What we need is merely a friend, Mr. When the Rising Sun Trading Company is in a crisis, Mr. can just lend us a hand." Ting Qingshan's eyes brightened. He glanced at the second elder in admiration and said, "The Rising Sun Trading Company is awesome." He didn't ask for anything in return. He only wanted to give. This was enough to attract many super experts who were afraid of trouble. Moreover, if the trading company encountered a crisis, how could these experts stand by and do nothing? "All right, I'll agree to this." Ting Qingshan thought for a while and nodded. In Ting Qingshan's opinion, if he became the deacons of the Rising Sun Trading Company, it would be much easier for him to find the stone inscriptions. The second elder and the sixth elder couldn't help but reveal a joyful expression. "I would like to ask the two of you if you have any information about the 36 splitting mountain forms left behind by the godly axe deity Yu the Great?" Ting Qingshan inquired. Update complete. Tomato will tell us about the monthly vote. Today is the 1st. Tomato will write the book Chronicles of the Nine Cauldrons seriously and wholeheartedly. It's fine as long as there are readers who like it. We don't need to compare ourselves with others. I will write seriously, and everyone will be happy reading it. As for the monthly votes, we just need to do our best. Tomato, I also want monthly votes now. Other people's monthly votes suddenly increased by a lot, while Tomato's increase was small. Tomato naturally wants more. However, for the monthly votes, we just need to do our best. Brothers who support Tomato, just give your monthly votes to Tomato, and that's fine. It doesn't matter what our monthly votes rank is. We don't need to spend too much effort on the monthly vote. Tomato will write Chronicles of the Nine Cauldrons seriously. No matter what, I, Tomato, guarantee that the words I write will be worthy of your subscription. If everyone gives their monthly votes to Tomato, Tomato will smile until his face cramps. Chapter 350. The Stone Inscriptions of the 36 Splitting Mountain Forms? The second elder and the sixth elder looked at each other in surprise. Because they had heard from Mu Wan that this powerful Mr. Ting used a long spear. Why would an expert who used a long spear be interested in the 36 Splitting Mountain Forms? What? The Rising Sun Trading Company doesn't even know about the 36 Splitting Mountain Forms? Ting Qingshan glanced at the two before him. Of course not. The sixth elder hastily said. The second elder chuckled and said, Mr. Ting, you should know about the stone inscriptions of the 36 Splitting Mountain Forms. The stone inscriptions were lost thousands of years ago. For generations, no one has been able to collect all 36 stone inscriptions. Now, these stone inscriptions are probably in the hands of various clans in the world. Some are in the hands of hidden forces or lost in some dangerous places. I know all of this, Ting Qingshan said straightforwardly, Now, I just want the two of you to tell me how to obtain the 36 stone inscriptions. There's no other way. The second elder said without hesitation. Even the Thunder Blade deity couldn't do it. 3,000 years later, the Rising Sun Trading Company can't do it. What if it's just one or two? Ting Qingshan asked. That's simple. The second elder smiled and said, first, use a huge amount of wealth to offer rewards to the clans in the world. Maybe some clans with financial difficulties are willing to sell a stone inscription. Second, go to the clans and ask them for the stone inscription. Of course, the possibility of these two methods is very low. Even if they have the stone inscriptions, they won't tell you. You can't possibly kill every single army by yourself, can you? Ting Qingshan frowned. The second elder and the sixth elder glanced at each other and smiled. Mr. Ting, the second elder continued, if you want to watch the 36 splitting mountain forms, it's not difficult. The 36 splitting mountain forms only contains the moves and nothing else. Although this cultivation method is the consummate skill of the godly axe deity. The clans that possess this consummate skill keep it very well. However, the Rising Sun Trading Company has the cultivation method of the 36 splitting mountain forms. There are a total of 36 pictures of the axe art. If you want to take a look, we can lend it to you. Oh! Ting Qingshan was a little tempted. Although the 36 paintings in the secret manual were unable to fully express the artistic conception due to the level of the painting skill. But it was good to be able to see it. Then I'll have to trouble the trading company, Ting Qingshan said with a smile. Not at all. The second elder smiled and shook his head. However, our Rising Sun Trading Company doesn't have the secret manual of the 36 splitting mountain forms in Nanshan City. Instead, it was in the Westtang region. Therefore, we must also pass down the order. The Westtang region and the South Mountain region are very far apart. Even if it is fast, it will still take 4 to 5 days to go back and forth. There's no hurry. Ting Qingshan smiled and said, I'm very grateful to the trading company for being able to read the 36 splitting mountain forms. The second elder and the sixth elder laughed. To be able to have a closer relationship with Ting Qingshan, any sacrifice would be worth it. In fact, the 36 splitting mountain forms axe technique was very powerful, but it did not have any mental cultivation method or any detailed descriptions. He wanted to practice powerful axe technique. It was very difficult, because this axe technique was like Ting Qingshan's spear technique. The appearance of the spear technique was secondary. The artistic conception was the most important. Mr. Ting, when the secret manual arrives, where should we send it? The second elder asked. I will look for a place to stay in the vicinity of the Godly Axe Mountain. Ting Qingshan pondered and said, when the time comes, just send the secret manual here. All right. The two elders were very straightforward. They knew a rough area. With the Rising Sun Trading Company's strength, they could easily find Ting Qingshan's residence. May I ask why Mr. Ting is interested in this axe technique? The sixth elder asked curiously. There are similarities between the spear technique and the axe technique, Ting Qingshan said casually. The second elder, who was at the side, said, Mr. Ting, forgive this old man for talking too much. The 36 splitting mountain forms only has 36 paintings. It is almost impossible to practice the axe technique with just these paintings. Unfortunately, in the past, the Godly Axe Mountain also had 9 sets of the 36 splitting mountain forms blunt vanadium stone tablet. They were completely copied and cast from the 36 stone inscriptions. If one were to study that set of stone tablets, it would probably be easier to practice the axe technique. Blunt vanadium stone tablets? Copied? Ting Qingshan was shocked. In the past, when the Godly Axe Mountain was still extremely powerful, the 36 stone inscriptions were all in the forbidden area. They were not easily seen by others. The disciples of the godly Axe Mountain learned the axe technique by studying the blunt vanadium stone tablets. Whether it is the inscriptions or the word Tao, the blunt vanadium stone tablets are exactly the same as the 36 stone inscriptions. The only difference is that the 36 stone inscriptions possess strange abilities, because they were copied from the stone inscriptions. When the godly Axe Mountain was attacked, the 9 sets of stone tablets were plundered. However, 200 years ago, there was news of 1 set of blunt vanadium stone tablet. The second elder shook his head and said, "With the quality of the blunt vanadium stone tablets, even after thousands of years, they should still exist." Ting Qingshan could only shake his head. Whether it was the 36 stone inscriptions or the 9 sets of blunt vanadium stone tablets, Ting Qingshan had no way of obtaining them. The people of the Rising Sun Trading Company had successfully invited Ting Qingshan to become their revered elder. Naturally, they returned to Nanshan City happily. As for Ting Qingshan and the others, they found a temporary place to settle down around the godly Axe Mountain. In the depths of the quiet forest to the north of the godly Axe Mountain, there was a crescent-shaped lake. "From today onwards we will be living here." Ting Qingshan stood by the lake and announced with a smile. "We don't even have a place to stay." Little Ping muttered. "Let's begin." Ting Qingshan carried a reincarnation spear and began to build his new home. He chose some huge rocks from the godly Axe Mountain and hollowed them out, decorating them into the shape of a house. Xiao, xiao, xiao. The shadow of the spear covered the sky and covered the earth. The tip of the reincarnation spear pierced into the huge rocks again and again, causing a large amount of crushed stones to fly in the air. The originally huge rock was carved into a beautiful stone house by Ting Qingshan using the reincarnation spear. Even the roof was carved into tiles. Ting Qingshan's carving ability might be average, but his control over his spear art was too high. The carving of this stone house was slightly rough, but it was still quite beautiful. "Hey!" Ting Qingshan carried the reincarnation spear on his back. Then, like a god, he lifted this stone house with both hands. Like a giant ape, he dashed down the mountain and rushed to the side of the crescent moon lake. Bang! The stone house landed on the side of the lake. Li Jun and Little Ping looked at this beautiful stone house in astonishment. "Little Jun, Little Ping, this is your residence." After Ting Qingshan finished speaking, he went up the mountain again. He went back and forth a few times. Ting Qingshan built 3 stone houses. One for Li Jun and Little Ping, one for Ting Qingshan and the coachman Old Wang, and one for Ting Qingshan. The 3 stone houses were like stars surrounding the moon, surrounding the crescent moon lake. After that, Ting Qingshan and the others went into the city and bought many daily necessities. Only then did they finish decorating the 3 stone houses. On the morning of the second day, Ting Qingshan was practicing the earth element fist by the side of the lake. Occasionally, he would switch to the water element fist, causing the surrounding power of the heavens and the earth to vibrate because of his fist art. Occasionally, the sound of air exploding could be heard in the air, and the waves of air fluctuated. The divine bird Blue Luan, which seemed to only exist in a dream, was squatting at the side, watching Ting Qingshan's fist art. The ferocious beast teenager Ting Shou was also squatting there like a wild beast, watching Ting Qingshan's fist art. The man and the demonic beast watched side by side. After a long time, "Stop, teacher!" Ting Shou uttered with difficulty. Ting Qingshan swept his gaze over and shouted coldly, "Stand up!" This was not the first time Ting Qingshan had reprimanded Ting Shou with the words "stand up." Ting Shou immediately stood up straight as if it was a conditioned reflex. After all, he had been living like a wild beast for more than 10 years. With a moment of carelessness, he fell to the ground. "Little Jun!" Ting Qingshan shouted. "I'm coming. I'm busy with breakfast." Li Jun ran over with a smile and asked, Big brother Ting, are you going to teach Ah Shou the fist art? Ting Qingshan nodded. From today onwards, I will teach you the fist art, Ting Qingshan said. Do whatever I tell you to do. As Ting Qingshan spoke, Li Jun, who was standing at the side, roared. Ting Shou understood and immediately said slowly and firmly, Yes, teacher. Ting Shou didn't know many words. However, he knew the words teacher and Ting Shou. Watch carefully. Ting Qingshan began to teach Ting Shou. This was his only disciple in his 2 lives. He immediately practiced the 3 postures. The 3 postures could be said to be very simple. However, the simplicity contained a special concept. Let Ah Shou reach the realm of resonating tendons and bones. He should be able to sense the concept of the 3 postures. Let him practice the 3 postures for a month first, then I'll teach him the earth element fist. Ting Qingshan already had a plan to nurture Ting Shou. Ting Shou had a good foundation. The only problem was that he didn't understand many words and needed Li Jun to explain. Ting Qingshan taught, Li Jun explained, and Ting Shou learned. This was the relationship between the 3 of them. On the 3rd day of staying beside the Crescent Moon Lake at the foot of the Godly Axe Mountain, Mr. Ting, Mr. Ting. Shouts came from afar. At this moment, Ting Qingshan was only wearing thin trousers and a long gown. His hair was disheveled and his feet were bare. He held the reincarnation spear and practiced the spear art by the lakeside. Every move seemed simple, but it contained the Tao of the heavens and earth. Blue Luan was on a tree branch nearby, looking down. After thrusting the reincarnation spear, Ting Qingshan immediately withdrew the spear and stood upright. Ting Qingshan looked towards the source of the shouts and saw dozens of people approaching with Warhouse. The person in the lead was the silver-haired and skinny 6th elder. I didn't expect to see Mr. Cultivating. The 6th elder laughed. 6th elder, why are you here? Ting Qingshan said with anticipation. Could it be that the secret manual of the 36 splitting mountain forms has arrived? Didn't you say it would take a few days? Only 2 days have passed. Haha, the secret manual hasn't arrived. However, I have an even better news for Mr. The 6th elder said mysteriously. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.